Understand, some things have to be done now. Ask about our payment options. Ken Hall Plumbers. We're here to help. 8364 5855.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's FIVEAA.
Sunny and 35 today with the 6 o'clock news. Good morning, I'm Graham Bullings.
Getting fit, your New Year's resolution? Book a Pilates and group exercise class at FIVEAA Extra. 6 locations.
Anti-doping investigators are accusing Melbourne footballer Joel Smith of cocaine trafficking. Sport Integrity Australia has told Smith he faces 3 anti-doping rule violations for trafficking and attempted trafficking of the drug. The Herald Sun is reporting officials have uncovered a number of text messages sent by Smith allegedly referencing cocaine. The Demons are yet to comment on the latest accusations. Motor neuron disease patients in Australia will be the first in the world to trial a treatment that scientists hope could not only slow but actually reverse the condition. Dennis O'Kane reports.
The first MMD human trials begin next month after a drug called SPG 302 proved successful on animals. 24 patients will undergo the trials. At best, it's hoped the new pill will not only slow the impact of MMD, but even reverse it. Lead scientist Dr. Stella Sharaff has told the Herald Sun, although she's super excited, there are no guarantees. The fight against MMD, as we know, has been spearheaded in Australia by football great Neil Danaher.
Julian Assange is making a last-ditch legal attempt to avoid extradition from Britain to the US on espionage charges. Despite being absent from the hearing due to his health, supporters of the WikiLeaks founder, including his wife, protested outside court. Assange is facing 17 charges of espionage and 1 charge of computer misuse over his website's publication of classified US documents. A state funeral will be held for renowned Aboriginal leader and former Australian of the Year, Dr. Lucia O'Donoghue, who died earlier this month at the age of 91 after a life dedicated to improving the rights, health and well-being of Indigenous Australians. David Bruce has more.
From her time spent as South Australia's first Aboriginal nursing trainee at the Royal Adelaide Hospital, Dr. O'Donoghue went on to become responsible for overseeing Aboriginal welfare policy, played a major role in formulating native title legislation, and was the founding chairperson of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Commission. She was named Australian of the Year in 1984, was invested as a Commander of the Order of the British Empire in 81, and later a Companion of the Order of Australia, and is widely respected as one of the greatest Aboriginal leaders of all time. Her state funeral will be held at St Peter's Cathedral at 1 p.m. on Friday the 8th of March, and everyone's welcome to celebrate a remarkable life.
10 people have been rescued from a burning unit block in Sydney's west. 6 had to be plucked from their balconies as black acrid smoke filled their units at North Parramatta. 4 of them have been taken to hospital. Another 4 were helped out through a stairwell by firefighters. Fire and Rescue Superintendent Adam Dewberry says they're now looking at where and how the fire broke out.
But this is a wonderful effort by our firefighters to get those ladders off their trucks and get those 6 people off the balconies. That's quite a delicate rescue operation, quite precarious, but a wonderful job by the firefighters who performed that.
It's understood a man has been arrested after assaulting a firefighter. Now turning to FIVEAA Sport.
Agostino Mitsubishi's Good to Go giveaway is on now. Receive a bonus $1,000 fuel card on 2023 Build Outlander.
And good morning to Tom Wren.
And a very good morning to you as well, Graham. Adelaide forward Darcy Fogarty admits there was a little bit of surprise when he was announced in the team's leadership group. The 24-year-old is one of 8 players named in an expanded group, and he told Rowan Bix there are already a lot of great young leaders in the team.
No, I was a little bit surprised as well. I think there was a number of names of young people coming up that could have been put in the list, and I think that's a real good spot for the club to be in.
Damning texts sent by Taron Thomas are circulating on social media, allegedly showing the North Melbourne player having no remorse about abusing women. In a screenshot of a message obtained by the Herald Sun, Thomas says he would do it again. His football career hangs in the balance, with the AFL expected to suspend him for up to 18 weeks. Meantime, Rowan Marshall has been elevated to St Kilda's leadership group for the first time. Jack Steele remains captain. Let's go to cricket. Australia's preparing to rotate its stars during this week's T20 series against New Zealand, which starts today. Captain Mitch Marsh saying all batters in the 15-man squad will get a hit as they build towards this year's World Cup.
Yeah, I think our top order's pretty set moving forward, but I don't think everyone's going to play all 3 games throughout this series, so certain guys will bat in certain places.
One game in the English Premier League this morning with Manchester City hosting Brentford, that match kicking off in about half an hour. And Andy Murray has finally picked up his first win of 2024 at the Qatar Open, ending a 6-match losing run. And that's the 5AA Sport.
And now the 5AA weather.
Stay cool. Service your aircon at Automasters. And keep cool with Cool Now, Pay Later options.
Sunny and 35 today, 33 and sunny tomorrow, Friday cloudy 22, Saturday mostly sunny 27. Right now it's 25. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Steinborner Automotive has always been well worth the trip, and now there's Barossa Mazda, Murray Street, Nuriutpa. SA's newest Mazda dealership is now open. For 40 years, Steinborner has provided South Australians with outstanding customer service, exceptional value, and a large selection of new, used, and demo vehicles. The Steinborner story continues with the opening of their new state-of-the-art Mazda dealership in Barossa Valley. Barossa Mazda. It's well worth the trip. barossamazda.com.au.
Austrac campers test their camper trailers and hybrid campers in places others wouldn't bloody dare. Because an Austrac camper is built tough, built to last.
Austrac campers.
Hearing Australia is making it easier for all Australians to receive expert hearing care.
And to celebrate World Hearing Day on the 3rd of March, Hearing Australia is hitting the road for the Hearing the Nation tour, offering free 15-minute hearing checks for adults.
This nationwide tour will see Hearing Australia visit 1,000 locations across Australia throughout March, stopping in city and country locations in every state and territory.
The 15-minute check is the first step in understanding any potential hearing loss and whether further assessment is required.
So if you'd like to get a free 15-minute hearing check, search Hearing the Nation or go to hearing.com.au to find an event near you.
Sky News Australia investigates the greatest mystery in aviation history. The unsolved case of flight MH370.
It's time to acknowledge that everything has failed, but not everything has been tried.
That's the cover-up. We need to find the airplane. 238 people were murdered.
MH370, 10 years on. Stream now. Download the Sky News Australia app. Conditions apply.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
8 after 6, good morning to you. Welcome to Wednesday on 5AA Breakfast. The 21st of February, big morning ahead. Jade Robrin's on deck, out on the road. We'll check in with her sporadically across the morning. The Deputy Prime Minister and Defence Minister Richard Marles will join us following yesterday's massive announcement regarding the future of the Australian Navy. We'll take you through after 7 o'clock how big this whole thing is. I don't think people have got their head around precisely how massive it is for the country. We spoke about it in terms of how it will affect South Australia yesterday, but broadly, it's pretty extraordinary, some of the stats we've got for you at 7 o'clock today. Sean Fust will take us around the courts at 7:30. And then after 8:30 today, the Police Commissioner, Grant Stevens, will join us live in the 5AA Breakfast studio. David Penberthy, good morning to you.
Good morning, listeners. Good morning, Will. I must admit, when Lacey texted me last night saying we had the Commissioner coming on at 8:30, my first reaction was, oh, really? Like, in an official capacity? Because up until now, I guess we'll find out today, but there has been no official word as to whether he was going to stay on in the role, and he might think, well, why would anyone?
If nothing was going to change, there'd be no.
I was going to do any different, but given the terrible ordeal his family's been through, and it was only 3 months ago that they lost their son Charlie, it invited a lot of that speculation.
Only 3 months ago.
It was November.
Yeah, that's amazing. It feels like...
It does feel like a long time ago.
It feels like a long time ago.
Yeah.
But that's not at all in terms of your life and getting back to work. And
yeah.
He made that appearance recently at the swearing-in ceremony, and people thought, well, okay, well, that's a positive sign.
When Richard Harris became Lieutenant Governor a week or so ago, a couple of weeks ago now. Yeah, but, I mean, you know, the reason people respect him so much is that he is a very driven bloke, and you know, he's been described as the embodiment of public service, the way he handled himself through COVID.
He's not a seat filler.
No,
he's not just there just because it's convenient and comfortable.
It's going to be good to see him.
He cares.
Good to see him, and I think a lot of people, if he has decided that he's not going anywhere, I think people will be extremely grateful and pleased that he has made that decision. But anyway, stick around because after 8:30, he's going to be on the show. He's going to be in the studio.
Lots to talk to him about in a policing sense as well. That we'll dig into the nitty gritty. Lots of big issues to talk about that have been brewing away whilst he's been away as well. So, looking forward to getting into all that a little bit later this morning.
I wonder if the Victorian Police Commissioner is going to be having a meeting this morning about whether they need to set up some special task force to monitor the conduct of people at the Melbourne Football Club.
This is mind-boggling, the story, and I don't know if many people waking up are aware of what's broken. So Joel Smith, the Melbourne footballer, who you know is in a world of trouble, he already is facing a 2-year ban for taking a banned substance on a match day, or having it in his system on a match day. The investigation into him, as detailed in the Herald Sun this morning, reveals it's much worse than, well, it would appear to be much worse than just Joel Smith taking a drug on a match day, because they've gone through his phone, and this is not a criminal charge. This is a sports anti-doping body charge. They've now said, well, there's evidence of him sending messages or a message to other players at the club offering, I can get you this much cocaine at this price and this quantity, which amounts to trafficking. Now, under the sports anti-doping laws, that's even a bigger fine. He'll never play footy again. He's 100% done.
When they say trafficking makes you think that he's Pablo Escobar and that he's involved in the manufacture or importation of the drug. But for the purposes of what we're talking about here, the term trafficking is used in the sports integrity sense, isn't it?
Just means transferring it between, being a conduit to get it from point A to point B.
Yeah.
The
Which
language
might not
they
be
use,
that big a charge in a criminal sense, but in a sporting sense.
Yeah,
when
it
they
doesn't
say
mean
trafficking.
He's not importing it off a plane.
Yeah, he's not the Bali Nine.
He's just a bloke who, according to the integrity, the laws that govern this conduct, it's about he was involved in getting a drug to a third party. That's all it means.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much, how it would.
We were chatting about this off air, and Will said exactly what I was thinking when I was reading this last night online. And I should say, the bloke who's written it, Mick Warner, he is an absolute gun reporter. Like, he doesn't get stuff wrong, Mick. He's a very, very head-down, bum-up reporter, and he's, unlike some of the Melbourne football media, he doesn't play favourites. He just goes hard, and he's a hard news guy, and he's got impeccable sources, one of whom had this to say, and this is what Will said before, is he thinks the most interesting part of the story. One source close to the probe said Smith should not be scapegoated over what they asserted was a wider club issue. It looks like they're planning to hang Joel out to dry for behaviour that is commonplace at Melbourne, the source said. It's not unusual for a group of young men who party together to share drugs. Joel might be foolish, but he's hardly Tony Mockbell. The club should be taking responsibility for what's happening to Joel instead of blaming him in order to cover up a much wider problem. Reminds me a bit of West Coast. You know, when things are going good on the park, the instincts of those in charge is not to ask the hard questions because you don't want to spoil things. It's like...
Has that feel to it?
You know, I've heard a few rumours about Cuz, you know, and the rest of the, you know, his gaggle of mates.
And the attitude is, they go hard, they party hard, but they play hard.
Yeah. You dismiss all of us saying, you know, play hard, party hard, but, you know, we've won the 2006 Premiership.
The thing that's going to be hard to explain away is that text message to teammates. Because I think most people will hear that and go, it's hard to believe that you've just randomly one day sent a text message just fishing for potential business to a bunch of teammates.
Yeah.
In isolation.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be hard for people to get their head around.
Well, you think about it, like, can you imagine a world where you and I, in the lead up to the Christmas party, suddenly said to each other, or, you know, we'll bring Sam and Luce into this too. You know, we've got
on our group text.
On our group text. We've got the Christmas party coming up Friday. I can get us all some cocaine.
Yeah.
Now, you guys will all drop the phone going, what?
Yeah.
You only send texts like that in an environment where they're not regarded as completely bizarre and aberrant?
I find it hard to imagine there's any other reality than the one you've just laid out. I find it really hard to imagine there's any other explanation.
And let's just couldn't stress enough, folks, that particularly with the police commissioner coming on after 8:30, that scenario was completely fanciful.
Yeah, well, we don't know that, but I'll be fascinated to find out what the details
No,
are.
I mean us in the Christmas party.
Oh no, the Christmas. Sorry, yeah, that's right.
Never happened. Seriously, why do people do this to themselves, though? It's just crazy, isn't it? I don't understand it, but maybe part of the problem is that young people these days, who are vain, Instagram generation, and obviously these guys need to be in shape for match day, maybe they'd look at people in their 50s and go, how can anyone drink alcohol?
I think there's a bit of that.
When you can get on the, what do they call them, the nose beers instead. Crazy.
He's in big trouble. The question is how wide it goes. We'll continue to follow that story over the course of the morning. It's a big one today in the world of footy, a bombshell. 16 after 6, we're going to take a break. News headlines coming up in a moment.
5AA's Business Lounge with Leith Forrest.
So in the Business Lounge today, I'm joined by an inspirational man who is a big fan of Arbor Vitae. Welcome, Peter Wilson.
G'day, Leith.
Hey, I know you've been using Arbor Vitae since 2018. Tell us about it.
It has completely changed my life. It's like liquid gold to me. My joint pain has completely disappeared. My mobility is so much better, and the reduction in inflammation is amazing.
And your mobility has returned. It's given you your life back, and I believe you've ticked off some big things on your bucket list.
Well and truly, to set myself the challenge of walking to the top of Mount Kosciuszko, the highest mountain top of Australia. It was a challenge that prior to Arbor Vitae was literally a dream. I had walked it when I was 17 or 18 years of age, but there was no way that in my 50s I would have entertained the thought had it not been for Arbor Vitae.
Peter, I'm so glad Arbor Vitae has given you back your life. Arbor Vitae is available in chemists and health food stores all over Adelaide. For a full list of stockists or to buy it online direct, go to arborvitae.com.au. That's arb or vitae.com.au. Or you can give the Arbor Vitae team a call and place your order over the phone on 1300 879 863. That's 1300 879 863. Always read the label and follow the directions for use.
Here's the thing about instant gas hot water. It's not very instant. It can take up to 40 seconds for proper hot water to come out, wasting around 25,000 litres of water each year. So get off the gas and get onto EcoVantage. With an EcoVantage heat pump hot water system, you could save up to 50% on your water heating costs, not to mention all that water down the drain. So get off the gas and get onto EcoVantage. EcoVantage.com.au.
Get saving now with City Discount Tyres. We're offering great deals on the world's top brands in tyres, wheels, suspension and parts. Suitable for four-wheel drives, SUVs and passenger cars, including Falcon, Michelin, Pirelli, Kumho, Hankook and many more. Finance options available. Search citydiscounttires.com.au and locate your nearest dealer today. City Discount Tyres. We're driven by value.
It's Edward from Edwardstown Mazda, South Australia's #1 destination for Mazda. Edwardstown Mazda has a very serious offer. So this is my most serious voice. This month's get savings equal to the on-road costs, plus free servicing on all 2023 plates. T's and C's apply. I'm Edward from Edwardstown Mazda. And I'm being very serious right now.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head to 5AA on Facebook or YouTube.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
20 after 6 news headlines on this Wednesday morning. An apprentice jockey remains in a critical condition after falling off a horse during track work last week. 28-year-old Chelsea Reynolds is likely to be kept in an induced coma for at least a few more days at the Flinders Medical Centre. Racing SA, she's receiving the best possible care.
Terrible story.
A new medical trial will soon get underway, giving Australians with motor neuron disease some hope. If successful, scientists say it could not only slow the condition, but actually reverse it. The drug may also help fight Alzheimer's and schizophrenia. Human trials begin next month. That's
massive news.
That's a huge development.
The idea that it can not only stop it but reverse it, that is just incredible, isn't it?
Australian drivers could be paying double for petrol compared to other countries. Analysis by the Climate Council shows the average fuel bill for a new car is nearly $1,500, about $20 more than European models. Economist Nikki Hutley says it's the result of a different vehicle emissions standards, and it's time we caught up.
It's going to encourage the rest of the world, the car manufacturers, to provide us with far more efficient vehicles and to stop producing those petrol-guzzling cars that the rest of the world's already rejected.
So that's not really a news item. That's a bit of pro-Chris Bowen propaganda by
That's
the
an
Climate
interesting
Institute
interpretation.
to cover his backside in a week when he's been copping it over the numbers that have been crunched by the car industry about how much cars are going to go up by.
What an interpretation. We're paying more because we're not making the cars expensive enough to force everyone to buy electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Seems to be the rationale.
What that means is if you have bought the car you really want, which is a Ranger and a Hilux, you've lost money because if that car only cost you even more, you might have bought a Prius instead.
That seems to be the logic.
Take your Prius camping on the weekend.
A black hole made up of more than 17 billion times the mass of the Sun has been discovered by researchers at the ANU. Samuel Lay from the ANU says it's the fastest growing black hole ever discovered.
There's only about 20% of the sky left for us to look at. So just in terms of sheer statistics alone, it's difficult to find an object that's as bright as this object.
And Julian Assange is making a last-ditch legal attempt to avoid extradition from Britain to the US on espionage charges. Despite being absent from the hearing due to his health, supporters of the WikiLeaks founder, including his wife, went and protested outside court. He faces 17 charges of espionage and 1 charge of computer misuse over his publication of classified US documents.
Where does he actually live at the moment? Does he live in the community? He's not holed
up in the embassy anymore.
No, he's left the Ecuadorian embassy. They left that quite a long time ago.
Well, I think he must be in the community.
Yeah. There's been a rethink on him by some people, hasn't there? He's become a bit of a darling of the right these days.
Yeah.
Some of the extreme conservatives really love him now too.
Is he a horseshoe theory case? If you're extreme on both sides, you think he's pretty good? I think plenty on the far left think he's pretty good too.
Yeah. He's seen as a freedom fighter by a lot of people. I've still got massive qualms about him.
Yeah.
Like I think that a lot of the indiscriminate leaking that he did could have endangered people, or did endanger people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's a few MPs who I know locally who are supporting the cause. Like someone who I've got to know really well, and I like the guy for his honesty and his brashness, and he often picks issues that I think resonate with people. Frank Pangello's big on Julian Assange.
The part I struggle with, he's being extradited to the US, not Russia. Like, these guys are our allies. It's not the Wild West. You know, we tend to agree with them on most issues of human rights and democracy and freedoms of speech and otherwise. Like, he's not...
But his supporters say it's not that he'll get a fair trial, it's that he shouldn't be on trial at all.
Yeah.
But that sets a hell of a precedent, doesn't it? Particularly in a world of computer hacking, where you think, like, if the unfettered release of information is...
It's okay if you agree with it.
Yeah. What sort of a precedent would that set?
35, the expected top today. Still warm out there at the moment. 25.5 outside in the city. Hottest capital. Oh, no, it's not Darwin. I lie. Darwin's slightly warmer than us this morning, but 25.5, certainly warm. 33 tomorrow. Then the change comes through. Friday will be much cooler than what we've had this week thus far. 22 the top on Friday and cloudy. Saturday, 27. The weekend pretty nice, actually. 27 Saturday, 29 on Sunday. Then we're back to 30 on Monday. A beautiful little period of weather.
Feels like this is going to kick on for a while, this warm pattern. I reckon probably up till the March long weekend, hopefully.
When the UV is 3 and above, cover up, use sun protection. Stay SunSmart. Download the SunSmart app. Again, the UV index is predicted to reach 11 today, which is considered extreme. You can interact with the program, of course, at any time and indeed on any subject by texting us 044808 1395. Big 10 Ford, GW Haval, Hyundai, Isuzu, Ute, Mazda, Mitsubishi, Nissan, Ram, Subaru and Volkswagen. Dutton's easy to do business with.
Here's Tommy.
Tom Wren's just wandered into the 5AA Breakfast studio. Sorry, I thought we were going to do some texts.
sorry,
Agostino Mitsubishi, good to go giveaways on now. Receive a bonus $1,000 fuel card on the 2023 Outlander.
We can if you want, actually, because they'll probably feed straight into one topic that I'm sure is going to be very much in Tom's mind. Dave on the Dutton text line simply says, what about the dealer that he's getting the cocaine from? Maybe they should be going after him. Another one says, David, you don't know what. You don't know if he was bringing it in. You need to get on the dark web and see what you can get your hands on. Never been on the dark web. Thanks for the tip. And Rob says the text message he sent to teammates is a concern, but I wonder how many accepted. It's a fair question.
Well, I mean, this is the story, isn't it? It's a huge story that Michael Warner, who, I think we all have a lot of respect for, great journo. He's not afraid to sort of do the hard stories, and these details that are emerging are, the quote that he's got here, Joel's not a bad apple, talking about Joel Smith in a barrel of clean ones. The whole joint is rotten, and that's come from a source close to the drug scandal.
The best interview today would be the ex-president.
Yeah.
Yep.
I reckon he'd give you one too, wouldn't he? He'd be feeling extremely vindicated because he said all along that there is a culture that goes beyond the playing group.
And he was chased out of the club.
The other person, I reckon even more disturbing one, the former club doctor, who is the most neutral, apolitical figure in any football club, the club doctor, he just wants everyone to be healthy. He raised some concerns. They got rid of him as well.
Well, so for those waking up this morning and wondering, what are these guys talking about? So the AFL has confirmed Joel Smith overnight is being investigated for 3 counts of trafficking or attempting to traffic cocaine. So under the anti-doping code, trafficking is defined as selling, giving, transporting, sending, delivering, or distributing a banned substance to a third party. And there's this text message that's allegedly out where he's offering it to numerous Melbourne players.
3 counts, you said?
3 counts.
That makes me wonder, this sounds like we need Sean Fuster starting to become around the courts. Does a trafficking charge need to involve an exchange or just a solicit or an offer?
It's a good question. So I'm not sure whether it was accepted or not.
Yeah. There'd be more people at that club who'd be packing it today, though, because as sure as the text that he sent to people has been discovered, they'll have to follow follow all the numbers on the phone. Like you say, he sent it to 3, 5, 7 blokes, who knows? But they'll go and you would think they could subpoena those other numbers to see what the replies were.
And then, of course, you've got off the back of this, Clayton Oliver with the issues happening at Melbourne at the moment, and then you've got this very sordid affair that's happening with North Melbourne and Tarrant Thomas, and we're still waiting to see what happens there. We think it's being reported that it's going to be an 18-week penalty. This is Laura Kane, who's the head of the AFL sort of integrity unit. Let's have a listen to what she's had to say.
I understand people have interest. They want processes to be linear, and we're moving as quickly as we can given people are involved in this, and we'll provide an update in due course. But what I will say is we don't stand for that behaviour in this industry.
So, the allegation there is that he's sent text messages on social media saying, the women that I've abused, this is allegedly, if I had the chance, I'd do it again. So, yeah, it's...
He sounds like a complete grub on the basis of that. And, the fact that he only got a $1,000 fine the first time when he was going to release the pictures of his ex-girlfriend, who is in the Herald Sun today saying, and in the Tiser, saying that that North Melbourne and the justice system not punishing him just reinforces it's okay because he's never faced any consequences. It feels like under the new North Melbourne CEO that they're actually going to come down on him like a ton of bricks now.
It sounds like he may have played potentially his last game there.
Ugly start to the season, isn't
it? Last 48 hours have not been good.
No, not a great advertisement for...
It's funny too, isn't it? If not for Mick Warner, you wouldn't be reading a word about this in the Melbourne press. And I'm thinking there of some of the people who devoted years of their lives to covering a camp that one club in South Australia held. All this has been happening right under their noses.
And pardon the pun.
Pardon the pun. Mick Warner's the only guy who's actually written it. It's funny, isn't it? All these Victorian AFL journos tripping over themselves to cover the things like the Crows camp. But they missed this one.
Good on you, Rennie.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks,
Agostino Mitsubishi's good to go giveaway is on now. Receive a bonus $2,000 fuel card on the 2023 build Triton.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Sunny and 35 today with the 6:30 news. I'm Graham Goodings.
Physio Extra hands-on physio at 6 locations. Even more convenient now with online bookings at physioextra.com.
The future of suspended Melbourne forward Joel Smith has become even more clouded after the AFL revealed he's under investigation over more anti-doping rule violations by Sport Integrity Australia. 28-year-old Smith has been suspended since mid-October after he returned a positive in-competition test for cocaine after the Demons' round 23 win over Hawthorn last August. Smith also faces an additional rule violation for possession of the drug dating back to 2022. A man accused of the murder of a mother and her son in their Rosewater home earlier this month has been identified after an interim suppression order was lifted yesterday. David Bruce has more.
Joe Campbell, believed to be in his 40s, has been charged with the murders of 76-year-old Antoinette Tozer and her 55-year-old son Steve inside their Rosetta Street home on Friday, the 2nd of February. The bodies of the mother and son were found by relatives the next day and emergency services were called. Police were quick to arrest Campbell, who was staying at a housing trust property across the road. Apparently, he'd recently got out of prison after a 3-month stint behind bars. Campbell will next appear in the Adelaide Magistrates Court in May.
The US has once again vetoed a resolution at the UN demanding an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. All but 2 of the 15-member body backed the call. The UK abstained from the vote. Washington's ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, says demanding an immediate unconditional ceasefire will not bring enduring peace.
Instead, it could extend the fighting between Hamas and Israel, extend the hostages' time in captivity, and extend the dire humanitarian crisis Palestinians are facing in Gaza. None of us want that.
The ACTU wants a permanent Competition and Prices Commission to investigate high prices and rescue Australians from the high cost of living. Gabriel Hodson reports.
Former Competition and Consumer Commission boss Alan Fells has presented a report to the ACTU with 35 recommendations that could lead to cheaper prices. News Corp is reporting that the union movement has prioritised 6 policy changes, including the establishment of a permanent Competition and Prices Commission, an agency separate from the ACCC. Unions also want the Albanese government to make it an offence to charge excessive prices. The ACTU wants the ACCC to also have the power to name and shame businesses that overcharge. They've criticised businesses that have kept prices much higher than needed well after the pandemic, saying the cost of living is eating up hard-fought pay rises.
A new survey released by bill-splitting app KittyPay has revealed 1 in 3 Australians are owed money by someone they know. The data taken from 18 to 35-year-olds also shows 67% currently owe cash to family and friends, some up to $500. Qantas is looking at introducing a monthly subscription-based access to its airport lounges. The airline currently requires members to buy yearly packages with its Qantas Club service. Executive Traveller Editor David Flynn says the subscription model could make it easier.
So you would pay small amounts for Qantas Lounge membership every month, just like you would for, say, Netflix or Spotify, rather than a big one-off hit of $600 a year.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Agostino Mitsubishi's Good to Go giveaway is on now. Receive a bonus $2,000 fuel card on 2023 Build Triton.
And here's Tom Wren.
Good morning to you, Graham. Port Adelaide's players will train this morning as they look ahead to Friday night's practice match against Adelaide at Alberton Oval. The Crows will do the same this morning as they also look ahead to that match, with both clubs set to bring back some key players. To cricket now, Australia has nominated New Zealand's danger man in tonight's opening T20 International in Wellington. Big hitting Black Caps opener Finn Allen caused the Aussies huge problems at the last World Cup. Captain Mitch Marsh says they'll need to remove him early.
Finn is, an outstanding talent, and as we've seen, certainly his record over the past 12 months, and especially at home in New Zealand, he can take the game away from you in that power play.
Tennis now, and Aussie Chris O'Connell has shocked 6th seed Jan-Lennard Struff in the opening round of the Qatar Open. Fellow Aussie Alexei Poprin also had a first-up win. And good news for South Aussie Thanasi Kokonakis, who enjoyed a first-up win at a tournament in Mexico. That was against Jack Draper. Max Purcell also won through to the round of 16 in that tournament with a hard-fought 3-set win against Italy's Matteo Arnaldi. And there's more EPL action on again this morning, with Manchester City currently taking on Brentford. It's about half an hour into that contest with scores locked at 0-0. And that's the 5AA Sport.
And now the 5AA forecast.
Stay cool. Service your aircon at Automasters. And keep cool with Cool Now, Pay Later options.
Sunny and 35 today, 33 and sunny tomorrow. Friday a little cooler, cloudy 22. Saturday mostly sunny, back up to 27. Right now it's 25. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
25 minutes to 7, coming up this morning on the program, the Deputy Prime Minister, Defence Minister Richard Marles will join us following the full announcement yesterday of the government's response to the Surface Fleet Review, detailing the biggest surface combatant fleet we've had since the Second World War, if it does come to fruition. So we'll talk to him about that before 8 o'clock. Koch's going to be on the program. Get his thoughts on the Coles and Woolworths predatory pricing and the way in which people are being price gouged at the moment and their response to it, which frankly wasn't great earlier this week on Four Corners. And the Police Commissioner, Grant Stevens, is going to join us after 8:30.
The thing about that Four Corners story is, because normally things appear on Four Corners and sink without trace, but when they actually get one in the sweet spot, it's funny, my mum's always a rule, she's like a one-woman focus group. Mum, we have dinner together every Tuesday night with Dad, and last night when they popped in, first thing Mum said was, God, did you see that Four Corners program and those bloody supermarkets? And it's like, and it's funny being a journo because Mum, she's like so many people, like she's either completely not interested or super interested in the news cycle, and she will say things like, how can they let that Snowtown guy out? How do you ever change your behaviour from that? And I always...
Good question.
And I always think, well, yes, this is the conversation everyone's having, but her reaction was, God, those bloody supermarkets. Oh, actually, she wouldn't have said the B word.
No, she wouldn't have said that.
No.
We'll ask Kochie about
I really hope she's not listening.
822-300-00 is our name. You can text us on the Duttons text line. Big 10 Ford, GW Haval, Hyundai, Isuzu, Ute, Mazda, Mitsubishi, Nissan, Ram, Subaru and Volkswagen. Duttons, easy to do business with. In this polarised world, who gets nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize these days?
Yeah.
I can tell you someone who has been. Elon Musk overnight has been nominated. Doesn't mean he's going to win it, but a Norwegian MP has from Norway. Norwegian politics sounds like a hoot. He's been put forward for his relentless efforts in promoting free speech and his contribution to keeping Ukraine connected during the Russian invasion, albeit his sympathies seem to be changing on that front. He's been put forward for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Didn't Elon Musk spend much of 2023 trying to work out how bad the Holocaust really was?
Yeah, he wasn't sure that it was a big deal.
But he went to Auschwitz and then he went, oh, hang on.
Yeah, this does seem to have been quite bad.
This was a bit OTT, as the young people say. Bit over the top.
Speaking of over the top, you're going to hate this, but this is the continuation of a story. We reported on it shortly after the surgery, and there's just more detail coming through now. Neuralink, one of Elon Musk's company, so not Tesla or SpaceX, it's just another one. He seeds a lot of these big idea companies out of in Silicon Valley. Their first human trial participant, this is the people who got you could get a chip implanted to your brain, can control a computer mouse with their thoughts. Can now control a computer mouse with their thoughts 1 month after the chip was implanted. Not too many details have been released to this.
Why do you need to do that, just out of interest?
I'll tell you why. Is it like, say you've got a Stephen Hawking type syndrome? In fact, he says Stephen Hawking is the most easy to understand example for most normal people.
Right, okay.
That he wouldn't need to find a way to type on a little keyboard.
Yeah, he'd just think the
mouse would work. Neuralink's ambition, and again, this is where it's difficult, because Musk becomes the front man and he provided the money, but there's some people that came up with this idea.
That would have made it heaps easier for Stephen Hawking if he was booking tickets to one of Jeffrey Epstein's parties in the Caribbean, wouldn't
it? Sorry?
Yeah, he was named as one of Epstein's mates.
I wasn't aware.
Over summer.
All right. Maybe not. Maybe Neuralink should find someone else to say as the example they want to use.
Well, he's no longer with us.
But the ambition is to use implants to connect people's brains to computers to help paralysed people.
That's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Or to help blind people see again.
Yeah.
They think it might have some application. Here is Elon Musk talking about it.
The first implementations will be to enable people who have lost the brain-body connection to be able to operate a computer or a phone faster than someone who has hands that work. So you can imagine if Stephen Hawking could communicate faster than someone who had full body functionality.
All right, retiring the Stephen Hawking reference. At the moment, the person who's had the chip implanted can move a mouse up, down, left and right. They're working on getting clicking happening, but it's through nothing but the power of thought, which is really
totally
hard
incredible
to wrap your head around as a piece of technology.
The bit is like, I mean, the brain is still, it's a physical organ. So is there a wire that gets put into your brain that gets attached to a computer?
It's a chip.
It's extraordinary. So it must read nerve activity.
Yeah, it's some activity.
It literally reads your mind.
Yeah, it's science fiction. Scott in Modbury's called in on the question of the Nobel Peace Prize. Morning to you, Scott.
Morning, boys. Is it even valid anymore,
No.
the Nobel Peace Prize? Because, let's face it, I know you guys are a huge fan of the old Donald Trump. He got nominated twice, and fairly enough, I mean, he signed 3 peace treaties in the Middle East, which would be going pretty good now. But he was the first president in decades to not take the US into a new conflict. Got nominated twice, didn't win, yet Obama took the Americans into 7 different conflicts in his term and was known as the drone president because he had 2,400 civilians killed, yet he wins one. So where's the validity in the prize at
the
all?
judging criteria is a little bit flaky, to say the least.
It's a bit like the Oscars.
Yeah,
you got to know a few people on the committee.
You've got to know the right people and perhaps think the right way.
Yeah.
You could make a Donald Trump peace argument. If the guy's an isolationist, if you say, wars are started by foreign interference, he's the opposite of that.
We'll sit this one out.
I mean, sitting out NATO might not necessarily be the kind of thing that leads to enduring peace.
No. I think saying, look, Ukraine's got nothing to do with us or indeed anyone. Not a good look.
It'd be peaceful because it would have been over quicker.
Well, that's right, yeah. He's taken over the entire country and its democratically elected government. And, next stop, Vilnius and Riga, and off you go.
Yeah. There's a pleasant thought. 822300 the number. Thank you, Scott, for your thoughts. Love to get people's thoughts as they come in. You can jump on the Foodland Supermarkets Facebook and YouTube live stream as well. Coming up in just a moment, we're going to check in with Jade Robin. Police and weather. It's all up after the break. We'll check traffic first, though, thanks to Kiesa. If you're tired of back pain, try Kiesa, KIESER.com.au.
Thanks, Will, and morning, David. Well, the road's looking pretty good for the driving today. Accident breakdown free of the May, just no great hassles getting to work. That's a good thing. Do have some works to look out for. You'll find them at Wingfield, Cormac Road near Magazine Road. Also at Jeps Cross, Port Wakefield Road near Matthews Road. Look out for road plates in New South Road at Tonsley. Got speeds at 40 there with cameras. Cavan Road, Dry Creek, and another one too, May Terrace at Brooklyn Park. Dream Electric with BYD. Receive $2,023 cash back on the award-winning 2023 model BYD at 03. Hurry, limited stock. Visit BYD today. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
The Kluger 7-seat SUV is here to move your family and to move you at Jarvis Toyota's brand new home in Brighton Road, Somerton Park. It's an SUV that knows you expect practicality but want luxury and beautiful design too. There's no need to wait for the kids to grow up. You can have your dream car now. Take a test drive of the Kluger SUV today at Jarvis Toyota, now at Brighton Road, Somerton Park. Proudly celebrating 22 years of great deals.
It's Ian Healy, and I'm here to talk to you about back pain and Kiesa. If you're one of the 80% of Australians who suffer from back pain, it's tempting to do nothing. But this can cause weaknesses down the road. The best place to start with back pain is exercise, and the best place to exercise is Kiesa. Kiesa's physios and Swiss-designed strength training equipment help you build strength in a supervised environment. I go to Kiesa, and you can too, at our new clinic in Norwood. Book your initial assessment at kiesa.com.au.
I was just doing my job. I didn't think I'd get injured.
The doctor said it was a routine procedure? Right.
The car came out of nowhere and it smashed right into us.
At DBH Lawyers, we're here to listen to your story. Our team of local South Australian lawyers will help you navigate the law and find the best way forward. We're with you. We're for you. We're DBH Lawyers. dbh.com.au.
Are you thinking about a sea change? Where you can walk to the beach and be part of a close community? Think Oakford Homes at Encounter Bay. You can live in a brand new low-maintenance home with all facilities close by. Fixed price turnkey packages, flat land, ready to build. Move in now or invest for the future. Oakford Homes at Encounter Bay. Come down for a drive and look through our display village and see why Stage 1 is nearly sold out. Oakford Homes, a statement of quality. oakfordhomes.com.au.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
15 to 7. We're going to give away some Fringe tickets in a moment, so stay listening. That's before 7 o'clock. Let's check in with the Weather Bureau first, though, about the day ahead. Mark Anilak is on duty this morning. Mark, take us through Wednesday and then through the change that's coming up, because I think that's the sort of the interesting twist in what's otherwise been some pretty beautiful weather.
Absolutely correct. Yeah, look, it's been a couple of warm nights in a row now. I think yesterday morning we got down to about 24.5. This morning our minimum temperature was 24.2, so we've had a couple of very warm nights. Currently in the city, temperatures are hovering around 26 West Terrace, and northern suburbs are a little bit warmer than that as well, so we're getting up to 20, 27, 28 degrees. So pretty warm overnight in the metropolitan area. The rest of today will be another warm day. We're heading for an estimated top of around 35 degrees, probably a couple of degrees warmer in the northern suburbs, a bit cooler in sort of the coastal fringes, but another warm and sunny day expected today. Overnight tonight, we can expect another hot night. Temperatures will probably hover around the mid-20s overnight, ahead of a change tomorrow. That change is expected to bring some elevated fire danger ratings to the state, so keep an eye out for that this afternoon, whether we issue some fire bans or CFS issues some fire bans or not. We'll have to keep an eye out on that one. But tomorrow we can expect another warm day, temperatures getting up into the mid-30s ahead of a significant cooler change. And that cooler change will bring temperatures back to the low 20s for Friday. So a decent wind change coming through later tomorrow. But for today, heading for a sunny top of 35. Currently in the city, it's 26 degrees.
Thank you for that, Mark. Let's head to SAPOL. Senior Constable Rebecca Stokes is on the line. Rebecca, 2 people have been arrested for being unlawfully on premises in Woodville South.
Yes, police were called to a business under demolition at the corner of Port Road and Oval Avenue at Woodville South just after 9 p.m. last night. There were 4 people seen on the property acting suspiciously, and our caller was able to keep the suspects under observation from a distance while relaying information, including descriptions, to police. And when patrols attended and inside the site, they located a man and a woman. Police dog Rusty was also called in to help with the search, but the other 2 suspects were not located. So we arrested a 48-year-old man and a 47-year-old woman, both from Northfield, and they've been charged with being unlawfully on premises. And the man was also charged with breaching his bail. They've both been bailed to appear in court next month, and the investigation's ongoing. They're still trying to locate and identify those other 2 outstanding suspects. So anyone who saw any suspicious activity in the area last night, contact Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000.
Rebecca, also a speeding drink driver has been picked up in Adelaide, which is up north near Truro.
Yes, so the speeding drink drivers, they lost their car and their licence after being caught last night on the Sturt Highway. Police clocked his Toyota travelling at 133 kilometres an hour in a 110 zone. It was just before 9:30 p.m. on the Sturt Highway, Annandale, just east of Truro there. The driver's a 27-year-old Evanston Gardens man. He recorded a blood alcohol rating of 0.165, which is more than 3 times the legal limit. So he's been reported for drink driving. His vehicle's been impounded for 28 days. He's also been given an on-the-spot 12-month loss of licence, and he'll also have a date with the magistrate.
Hopefully they'll throw the book at him. Rebecca Stokes there from SAPOL. Thank you for that.
If you'd like to get along to the Fringe, we've got some tickets to make that possible. We've got a ticket for you and a friend to see Rouge in the Moa at Gluttony in Rymel Park, which is the home of the biggest shows this Fringe. Tickets from gluttony.net.au. All you need to do is get calling now on 8223 0055. 8223 0055.
Got one texter here sticking up for Elon, saying Rob says it's amazing how Musk was the darling of the world with EV cars, space exploration, etc. But until he promoted free speech, now he's public enemy number 1. I can't see how he's promoted free speech. I think he's promoted idiotic speech on Twitter. Twitter's unusable these days. Every time I log on, there's some lunatic crapping on about vaccines or something. Like the whole thing is just... I don't know what algorithms they're using now.
I think there's a less politically charged version of why Musk's popularity's dipped, and it's just he's had more to say. he wasn't the sort of public figure that started lending theory. He didn't speak about his theories on everything going on in the world previously. But now, as the owner of the biggest social media company on the planet, it's very easy for him at any moment to wake up, roll over in bed at night and go, well, I've got some thoughts on Alexei Navalny.
Yeah, then 5 tweets later.
To be honest, I don't think anyone... If you're the kind of person that tweets out your every thought about every issue, you're going to eventually upset a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
it's just the nature of the world. So if he'd stayed mum, I suspect his popularity would be significantly higher than it is now. Julie has won the tickets to see Rouge. Morning to you, Julie.
Oh, hello. Thanks very much for that. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Not at all, Julie. Are you a bit of a culture vulture, Julie? Do you like to get along with the British?
Well, I've got a secret. I got some tickets from you guys last year, and I loved it. And so I jumped on the phone again so I could win them again.
Well, all that practice has paid off.
You've cracked the code.
But I am seeing 4 other shows this year as well, so I've jumped onto the Fringe bandwagon this year.
You might have to be our official reviewer, Julie. Do you need a job?
I would happily do that for you.
All right, we'll get your reviews, Julie.
We'll
get you back on. Julie's off to Rouge with a friend in the Moa at Gluttony in Rymel Park, home of the biggest shows this Fringe. Tickets at gluttony.net.au. Let's check in with Jade Robran, who's out on the road this morning in the CBD, because, Jade, e-scooters are back in the spotlight.
They most definitely are. Good morning, everybody. It is a very warm, balmy morning here in High Marsh Square. You're right, Will. E-scooters have hit their headlines again. The Adelaide City Council, they could be the next council to stop e-scooters following Unley Council. Now, they're fed up waiting for regulations. We've had them scooting around our city for 5 years now. I mean, this is seriously the longest trial ever. Now, the reason for it is that the council is waiting for proper regulations to be handed down. Now, the licence, let's call it that, the licence runs out in May, so it's going to be interesting to see if they do extend it. The council will vote next week to decide on that. I hit the streets to see whether we are a fan or are we not a fan. Mike, what's your thoughts on e-scooters?
They do make the city messy. I don't think much of them, to be honest.
Patrick, are you voting yes to keep them or no to keep them?
Yeah, I'd love to keep them. I'd just like to see new laws introduced to better regulate them, maybe allow them in the cycle lanes to keep them off the footpath. They're a bit of a hazard on the footpath, so I'd prefer to see them in the cycle lanes.
Have you seen any close calls?
Oh, yeah, heaps. I've been a part of a couple.
Oh, what happened?
Oh, just people flying around corners, stuff like that, not ringing the bells.
David, are you a fan or not?
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Why's that?
I think it's a great way to get around a city.
Clean, easy, cheap?
Yeah, as long as they're not going too fast on the footpath, so you don't get cleaned up, but otherwise, yeah, they're pretty good.
Have you ridden one before?
A couple of times, yeah.
They're a bit of fun, really, aren't they?
They are, yeah, it's good fun.
You can see, Jade.
Yeah, they are a bit of fun, but I mean, let's be honest. Where we are here in High Marsh Square, they, at the end of the day, tend to be a graveyard for e-scooters, and people just throw them all around. We've got a couple down here that are just, thrown in the middle of the footpath, and if you're in a wheelchair or vision's not great, or you might be distracted, they are a tripping hazard. There are a safety hazard, and that's the side I don't like. But there is a bit of a twist to this, though. It looks like legislation to legalise private e-scooters will pass, meaning that you'll be able to ride your own in the city by the middle of the year. But then this has taken a bit of a turn again, because the opposition has sent out a press release a few moments ago questioning that, and it says, quote, more than a year after the Liberal opposition introduced a bill into Parliament that would have allowed private e-scooters to be used in public spaces, it's been revealed government legislation to legalise devices may not come into effect for another year. Now, look, these e-scooters, the topic of this, they don't really bother me. I'm not very passionate either way. I do, like I said, hate how people just dump them on the footpaths, but I do think they're a quick and easy, cheap way to get around the city. But I think the big thing is that we just got to consider other people in all of this.
It's a great report, Jade, and you can watch along Jade's report throughout the morning on the Foodland Supermarkets Facebook and YouTube live stream. She's had the scooter there front and centre in Hindmarsh Square. That sounds like we could have the ludicrous situation where suddenly we go from having only public e-scooters to having only private e-scooters in the city. It is a total absurdity.
But isn't that such a classic over-government story?
Yeah, because we've got two tiers of government doing two different things.
The state government is of a certain mind, or is too busy to have got the legislation in, or whatever the reason is. So they haven't actually come up with the guidelines for privately operate, or if they're publicly operated, well, I suppose they're operated by private companies, but through councils.
Yes.
So the council programs, because the councils are saying, well, and they're probably saying it for legal reasons. They have legal advice saying, well, if there's some serious crash, then you guys could be liable if you're running the trial or whatever. But why can't they just get their act together?
Here's Phil Martin speaking on 9 News last night.
This is the world's longest trial. Just give us the rules and we can then administer it. This council's at the end of its tether. We've been granting extension after extension. All we want is for the state government to give us some clarity, give us some regulations, create the environment in which we can make this work.
Well, that sounds totally reasonable to me.
Yeah, I think we've just found ourselves in the zany position of totally agreeing with something Phil Martin said.
And the City Council. That's fair enough.
Yeah, they've got every right to ask for some clarity. If we should follow this up with the government, see what it'd be Tom Cootes and Tonus's department, wouldn't it? It'd be Dipty.
Would be.
He'd be working on this.
What's your vote, folks? Yes or no to e-scooters, private or ones that are owned by a company? Personal use, you might have a view either way. Love to hear from you. 8223 or shoot us a text on the Duttons text line 0480 1395.
I'd keep them, but I'd keep them with a proviso that they have to go in bike lanes in the city. I think it's ridiculous that they can go flying down footpaths. You know, people coming around corners, walking.
The geolocation on them works extraordinarily well. I just don't know why you don't ban them from high traffic foot areas.
Yeah.
Like they work within a millimetre. It works at this point and they stop working at that point. And you know if you're riding with someone else, they all stop at the same point. So it's very accurate. I don't know why you just don't say you can't be riding them. Or what they do is they can have speed restrictions on them, which they do in some places. Restrict them to walking speed, or you have to get off on places like North Terrace, or you're coming on King William, getting towards Rundle Mall.
Yeah, when there's... I mean, the idea that you can go flying in an e-scooter through the footpath at the intersection of Pulteney Street and the Rundle Mall is absurd.
That's exactly right. David in Highgate, good morning.
Yeah, g'day guys. I just think they've got to pass the legislation, legalise them. I mean, the arguments against, why don't they use the same arguments against bicycles? We go for walks along the banks of the Torrens, and we get, a ding on the bell if you're lucky, and then a bicycle flying past at 40, 50, 60 k's an hour. If you step the wrong way, you get absolutely cleaned up. Why isn't the same argument used against bicycles? I mean, like they're a clean form of transport. People are getting into the city who don't live too far out of the city. It would take numerous cars out of the city for parking and also the petrol fumes, etc. Just get the job done and legalise them.
Good on you, David. Thanks for your call. Happy to take more calls on this. 8223 or jump on the text line. A few I can see coming through. We might get to those in just a moment. 5AA News first.
Jump into IGA for your last chance to win back the cost of your shop. Just buy participating products like Oreo cookies, 128 to 130 gram varieties, $1.25 each, half price. While stocks last, prices valid until Feb 27 at participating stores. T's and C's apply. See website for details.
Ladies, is the need to wee all the time making your life a misery? Caruso's Wee Less to the rescue. Caruso's Wee Less relieves the annoying and inconvenient feeling that you need to go to the bathroom too often and supports bladder health and function. So if your need to wee all the time is getting in the way of enjoying life, try Caruso's Wee Less today. Caruso's Wee Less is made in Australia, comes with a money-back guarantee and is available from leading pharmacies and health food stores. Always read the label and follow the directions for use.
If you have an electric hot water service at home or instant gas to heat your water, I'm sorry to say, you're losing money every day. With an EcoVantage heat pump hot water system, you could save up to a whopping 50% on your water heating costs. And if you're a concession card holder, make the switch to an EcoVantage heat pump hot water system. The upfront costs are even lower. EcoVantage, the savings are real. Visit ecovantage.com.au.
It's Edward from Edwardstown Mazda, South Australia's #1 destination for Mazda. Edwardstown Mazda has a very serious offer. So this is my most serious voice. This month's get savings equal to the on-road costs, plus free servicing on all 2023 plates. T's and C's apply. I'm Edward from Edwardstown Mazda. And I'm being very serious right now.
Stephen K. Amos returns to the Adelaide Fringe with his hilarious new show, Oxymoron. Join Stephen for an hour of solid jokes and guaranteed laughs.
Remember, guess who? 24 characters, no Indians, no Chinese, and only 2 black guys. So obviously very difficult for me and my family to play, because most of you look the same.
Stephen K. Amos, Oxymoron, February 16 to March 3rd in the Garden. Book now at adelaidefringe.com.au.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head to 5AA on Facebook or YouTube.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Sunny and 35 today with the 7 o'clock news. Good morning, I'm Graham Goodings.
Getting fit, your New Year's resolution? Book a Pilates and group exercise class at Physio Extra. 6 locations.
Melbourne forward Joel Smith has been accused of cocaine trafficking, putting his AFL career into serious jeopardy. Christina Hearn reports.
The AFL has confirmed Joel Smith is being investigated on 3 counts of trafficking or attempting to traffic cocaine. Under the anti-doping code, trafficking is selling, giving, transporting, sending, delivering or distributing a banned substance to a third party. It's alleged Sports Integrity Australia found text messages on Smith's phone, reportedly offering cocaine to Demons teammates. The Melbourne forward is already facing a 2-year ban after testing positive to cocaine on game day last year. Now he's facing a potential 4-year ban.
Motor neuron disease patients in Australia will be the first in the world to trial a treatment that scientists hope could not only slow but actually reverse the condition. Dennis O'Kane reports.
The first MMD human trials begin next month after a drug called SPG 302 proved successful on animals. 24 patients will undergo the trials. At best, it's hoped the new pill will not only slow the impact of MMD, but even reverse it. Lead scientist Dr. Stella Sharaf has told the Herald Sun, although she's super excited, there are no guarantees. The fight against MMD, as we know, has been spearheaded in Australia by football great Neil Danaher.
Defence experts are urging the federal government to take more notice of asylum seeker arrivals. 23,000 people arrived in Australia illegally via boat or plane last year, one of the highest numbers on record. The state government has been accused of keeping e-scooter legislation in the slow lane. It's been a year since the opposition introduced a bill to allow private e-scooters to be used in public spaces, but it's been revealed government legislation to legalise the devices may not come into effect for another year. Shadow Minister for Infrastructure and Transport Vincent Tarzia says it makes no sense that Labor are against environmentally friendly personal mobility devices.
Some of the councils are getting sick and tired of the uncertainty. We know at the moment, those caught riding their own devices in public can get fines up to $2,000. But from our point of view, the wheels of this e-scooter legislation, they're turning at a glacial pace thanks to the government, and we think that it's ridiculous that we're still talking about e-scooter trials 5 years on. We know that people are using these devices every day.
A man has been busted with a blood alcohol level more than 3 times the legal limit. The 27-year-old was pulled over by police for speeding on the Sturt Highway at Adelaide last night, where he blew .165. He's been reported for drink driving and had his vehicle impounded for 28 days. The Climate Council is urging the federal government to put the pedal to the metal and deliver stricter vehicle emissions standards. The group suggests Australians could be paying twice the price for petrol compared to people in Europe when buying a new car. Climate counsellor and economist Nikki Hutley says the reason for the disparity is simple.
Because we don't have the kind of standards that they set for their vehicles to lower emissions and be using fuel more efficiently.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Agostino Mitsubishi's Good to Go giveaway is on now. Receive a bonus $1,000 fuel card on 2023 Build Outlander.
And good morning, Tom Wren.
And a very good morning to you as well, Graham. We'll start with some football. Adelaide forward Darcy Fogarty says playing finals is the bare minimum expectation for this season as the season draws closer. Fogarty has been added to the leadership group, and he told Rowie and Timmy G he thinks finals are definitely achievable.
We've got another pre-season under the belt. We've got another year under Nixie, and I think we're just going to grow from there. So I think, top 8's a minimum, I think, hopefully. We will obviously want to play finals, but for top 8, wherever it is falls. I think we just want a chance to play finals and win finals games. That's the goal.
Yeah, let's hope so. Fogarty and the rest of the squad will train this morning as they prepare for Friday night's practice match. That's going to be against Port Adelaide at Alberton. Well, Dave Warner and Travis Head are expected to open for Australia at the upcoming T20 World Cup. The pair have been locked in as the first wicket pairing in today's first of a three-match series against New Zealand in Wellington. To basketball, the NBL finals will tip off tonight with the Tassie Jack Jumpers up against the Illawarra Hawks. It's season over for the loser. To soccer, and there was one game in the A-League overnight with the Melbourne Victory scoring twice in stoppage time to grab a dramatic 2-1 win against Western United. Meantime, over in the English Premier League, it's about to enter the second half with Manchester City and Brentford locked at 0-0, while in the European Champions League, it's approaching half-time. Borussia Dortmund is now 1-0 up against PSV Eindhoven, while it's currently 0-0 between Inter Milan and Atletico Madrid. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Morning there. Should have a good run of work today. We're accident breakdown free. That's always a good thing. Do have some works to look out for this morning. You'll find them at Chips Cross, Port Wakefield Road near Matthews Road. Also at Wingfield, Cormac Road near Magazine Road, and starting to get a little slow south road at Edwardstown with some road plates in use there. You find cameras this morning, Cavanagh Dry Creek and May Terrace at Brooklyn Park. It's not any time, it's one day only. For 24 hours, join Anytime Fitness with a $0 joining fee. Today only. Search Anytime Fitness for more. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
And now the 5AA forecast.
Stay cool. Service your aircon at Automasters. And keep cool with Cool Now, Pay Later options.
Sunny and 35 today, 33 and sunny tomorrow. Quite cool on Friday by comparison, 22. Saturday, mostly sunny, 27. Right now it's 26. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
7 after 7, Jade Robin was in Hindmarsh Square a moment ago with an e-scooter talking about this farcical situation we've got of the never-ending trial that seems to be going on there. I heard from Phil Martin too. City Council has said the state government just needs to legislate one way or the other what's legal and what's not. Then they can come up with regulations. So we asked you, our listeners, what your view is on the e-scooter question. Yay, nay? Should they be scooters you can only hire? Should they be scooters you can only have for private use? I think there's a really good text here on the Duttons text line from someone who makes a good point. Doesn't put their name to it, unfortunately. They said, I've said this from day one as an owner of an electric skateboard, and my wife has an electric scooter, before they were popular. When the trial came in, any flog with $5 and a phone could hire these things and have no vested interest in the outcome of the trial. The trial should have been for owners, and they should have been treated like bikes with the speed limit imposed. Watching people drunk, double-teamed, kids and no helmets frustrated the hell out of me, as I knew the trial was doomed to fail because the people really didn't care. I think that's a really reasonable point. Everyone jumps on the scooter and goes, I don't care if it gets busted. I don't care where I leave it. Like, no,
did you see this morning when we driving into the car park, when you come down Perry Street, the little back street out here, there was one just lying on the road right on the corner next to that bike shop.
Yep.
Like you see him every morning coming in, and there must be council rangers who... I wonder who it is at the council whose job it is to pick them up.
I think the companies pick them up. I said they drive around with those trucks.
Yeah, right. But that's the thing. If it was your own bike,
well, how different's your behaviour?
You're not going to, if you're going down to do some shopping in the mall, you're not just going to get off your bike and leave it unlocked lying on the ground, are you?
And you're not going to be tearing around because you don't want it to get damaged.
I like this one, though, even though Will and I found ourselves in the somewhat unusual and uncharacteristic position of agreeing with something Councillor Phil Martin said. This text says, Adelaide City Council asking for clarity. Ha ha, that's funny.
But you know what? They did get clarity on a fence for the Canberra Comets, the Adelaide Comets Football Club.
Yeah.
The state government said here's money to the club to build it.
Which is that was they quite voted clear. For it twice.
That was quite clear in the City Council.
Well, watch this space. I think it's going to come to a head again next Tuesday.
Yeah, hopefully.
Sanity will hopefully prevail.
Let's get to some of the stories of the morning, headlined by a bombshell in the AFL. Mick Warner in the Herald Sun this morning, writing about the expanding story of the Joel Smith anti-doping investigation, where investigators have now added additional charges beyond consuming an illicit substance on a match day or having it in his system, but now he's been accused of trafficking the drug in a message to Demon's teammates according to text messages that were found, multiple text messages. He offered them a quantity of the drug. He's already facing a 2-year suspension. Potentially that'll be significantly longer, but the most extraordinary part of the story is the unnamed source making the observation. This guy's not Tony Mockbell. He's not Mr. Big, Mr. Asia. That's right. This is a bigger problem potentially at the Melbourne Football Club. Here's a statement from the AFL that has been published and read out on Sunrise this morning.
There's obviously all allegations at the moment, and the footballer hasn't decided to comment on any of them at the moment, but the AFL has. It has put out a statement overnight. It says it confirms that further anti-doping rule violations have been asserted against Joel Smith under the Australian Football Anti-Doping Code, and now Smith has a month to answer these 3 new violations.
You can't help but think that there is a major cultural problem at that football club, because these are the very concerns that former President Glenn Bartlett raised 3 years ago with the AFL, and the response which he got, and also the response which Zishan Arain, who was the Melbourne club doctor, he also raised concerns. Both of those guys got sacked or forced aside. The board knocked off Glenn Bartlett in 2021. And not long after that, when the club doctor also raised drug-related concerns, don't know if it was the board or if it was club management, like the CEO or whatever, head of football, who knows. But the doctor was quietly ushered towards the exit. And you do have to think. I mean, we've had the unseemly spectacle of a premiership-winning coach in Simon Goodwin having to go on the record saying he's never tried cocaine. Now, we're not saying that there's anything in these allegations, and we stress that there's still allegations that says anything about the behaviour of Simon Goodwin or the veracity of the denials that he's issued previously. But I think it's fair to ask whether there is a broader cultural malaise at the club, given the fact that these allegations keep being made. And the fact that they've now got to the point where the AFL has issued a statement confirming this investigation. And as we were saying before, you don't text your peers offering them drugs.
Out of the blue.
Out of the blue.
Yeah.
Like the idea that you would ever... I mean, it's a big thing. How would you ever raise with anyone you work with the prospect of buying drugs off you so that you can all take cocaine together? You only do that if it's not regarded as a taboo.
You suspect there might be a marketplace for it.
Yeah, well, it sounds like there might be.
The trafficking charges, we should make the distinction too, are different from criminal trafficking charges. The idea isn't that huge quantities have been being distributed. No one's suggesting he's backing a truck up at the airport, for example. But under the Sports Anti-Doping Code, trafficking just means transporting them to a third party in any quantity. So offering them around to teammates, which is what this sounds like, would certainly qualify as that. Again, this all needs to be tested, but it is it's a huge story on the eve of the AFL season. Carlos and Christie's Beach is called in on this. Morning to you, Carlos.
Morning, guys. I was just saying before that when I worked away, fly in, fly out, I got drug tested before I left and when I came back. That was a condition of my employment. The fact that the AFL give these guys 3 strikes goes to show how much they really care about what's going on. They know that if they did test, I reckon half the league would be out in the first week.
Well, I don't know if it'd be quite that many, but who knows? It's
well, you know what? To Carlos's point, all these stories do is make you wonder.
Yeah.
They make you wonder. And that's bad news for the AFL.
I don't know. All the football players we've got to know in here, though.
It seems unlikely.
Yeah, I just think, Eddie, Patrick, the dude, Rats. I reckon most blokes would still be like most normal people. They go, what are you even talking about? You know, particularly guys who take great care in their physical condition. I mean, we went out a few times. I remember going out one day with Tom Duday where it was end of the season, and we went down to the Royal in Torrensville to have a few beers. And he said, we'll put a line through the afternoon. With my background, I thought, well, I'm getting an Uber there because that means we're probably going to have 8 beers. I reckon he had 2.
Yeah.
One of them was a mid-strength.
Yeah.
That was his idea of cutting loose. I was bitterly disappointed. I mean, it's still great company.
No, it was a good afternoon.
And you don't need to drink to have a good time.
No, of course. But there's a cultural change amongst
There's
most footballers.
There's a lot of elite athletes who think putting a line through the afternoon means having 1 pint of full-strength beer and then a Hahn, whatever it's called.
To other news, and following up a story we've been really following closely. Yesterday, the federal government announced what... I don't think people kind of get how big this story was yesterday in terms of the reimagination of the Australian Navy. Now, because you know how to party, Will, you spent hours yesterday reading every word of it, didn't you? I read it, and then at night, last night, my wife said, "What the hell are you doing during our TV time?" And I was reading the 1986 DIB review about forming the Australian Defence Force.
From what I've heard, that's a real page-turner.
I just wanted to check some things about what our thoughts were on the Navy 40 years ago.
Are you less cynical now than you were this time yesterday?
No, I'm more cynical, actually.
Okay.
Maybe we'll go into that with Richard Miles when
you
can ask all the
program. You can ask all the questions with the Defence Minister, because I haven't read the DIB report.
If we take the headlines at face value... This is extraordinary what got announced yesterday. And we talk about it because Australia's naval future and South Australia's economic future are inextricably linked. So we always talk about it as an industrial story. But if you talk about this as a defence story, this is not only the biggest expansion of the Navy since the Second World War, but at 26 major service combatants, that was what was announced yesterday, 3 Hobart air warfare destroyers, 6 Hunter-class frigates, 11 new general-purpose frigates, and 6 of these large, optionally crewed service vessels. That's 26 what they call major service combatants. That would mean we have a larger force of major service combatants than the Royal Navy.
How do we get them?
How we get there and whether this ever happens, it's all on paper right now. But the ambition is, think about that in the history of Nelson, and the Royal Navy has been the most powerful navy on earth for all but the last 60 years. Australia, a country with an economy the third the size, is talking about having a service. Now, this doesn't count submarines or auxiliary ships. So when you open the paper this morning and see that the Royal Navy's bigger, that's because they're counting all the support ships and all the submarines. If you just talk surface combatants, major service combatants, we would have nearly 50% more, 26 to 19, over the Royal Navy. Now, they've got problems.
When you say combatants, do you mean personnel?
No, the ships themselves,
the
unit, the individual units. So major service combatant is a class of, that's your destroyers and your frigates and things that do battle. They do the fighting. They do the defending. They do the missile launching. They're those sorts of vessels. They're the big ticket items. We would have 26 to the UK's 19. Now, we compare ourselves to China ludicrously. But I think if you told most Australians what was announced yesterday is Australia's going to have a bigger fighting Navy than the Royal Navy, it'd blow your mind. And that's exactly what actually got announced yesterday. To your question, when and how this all happens, well, there's recent terms like multi-purpose frigates being used because we don't know what they're going to be or who's going to design them and make them.
They're going to be able to put drones on a lot of them, aren't they?
Well, 6 of them don't even exist in the real world yet. The large optionally crewed surface vessel are basically large boat drones. It's an unmanned boat that the US is working on.
Take pictures of dolphins and
stuff.
I'm
sure taking pictures will be part of their remit. This is something the US is working on. So this is probably a bit of an AUKUS preview as well. This is something the US is hot on and that we're going to be working on. Certainly you don't have crew problems if they don't need a crew. Richard Miles has made the point they would be crewed, but that does seem to be more of a fact that there's a real grey area in international law about the moment, whether you can have giant automated lethal ships. So it's better just to say we can put crew on there, and then by the time these things come into operation, the expectation, I imagine, would be that they don't run with a crew whatsoever. But so if you imagine this is realised, what got announced yesterday is absolutely extraordinary. Now, the reason I read the DIB review last night is because I thought, well, last time we had a big review into armed forces, how did we go in terms of realising it? We didn't. 40 years later, we've never achieved the number of ships that were set out in the 1986 DIB review as how many you need to defend Australia. It was about 8 or 9 destroyers and a similar number of frigates. So the reason I went back and read it was, do we ever hit these targets? Is it ever achieved?
Why don't we hit them? Is it cost?
Cost, politics, governments change. These ships and things we're talking about are into the 2030s and 2040s. What does the world look like then? What does the economy look like in the next 15, 20 years? That's why these things are impossibly hard to hit.
Yeah.
And look, we're talking about unmanned vessels as part of this plan. What if you get in 5 years, 6 years' time and the idea of sailors being on ships is quaint and outdated? Well, you don't need the last few, say, hunter classes, for
Well, that's
example.
good with the recruitment crisis because we currently don't have enough to fill existing roles.
That joke has been made by a lot of people in defence.
Yeah, yeah.
That this is the answer. You have one guy piloting a huge ship as opposed to needing a crew of 140, for example. But it was a huge announcement yesterday beyond, and that's how we focus on what it means for South Australia, and it's an industrial story for South Australia, but also for the nation. It was a pretty remarkable announcement. Whether it is realised ultimately remains to be seen. This was a big announcement too. I love the sound of this.
Jojo was a man.
The Beatles. So you really got to try and get every number just as good as you can go. Sort of, that's the idea, is it? Just all rehearse it well, and that's just one take, that'll be it. You know.
The world has a never-ending appetite for Beatles content. That's, of course, the Get Back documentary that was one of the most extraordinary documentaries, musical or otherwise, I've ever seen in my life. Director Sam Mendes, who is an Oscar award-winning director, has announced he's going to make 4 separate films about the Beatles, one from the perspective of each band member. So 4 movies.
Oh, wow.
One from John Lennon's perspective, one from Paul McCartney, one from Ringo, and one from George Harrison. It's a significant announcement because it's the first time the Beatles and their company have granted full life story and music rights for a scripted film. So people have wanted to make the story of the Beatles movie. Everyone's going to see that. It's a money printing exercise. But no, they've never given away the rights to be able to do it until now. And Sam Mendes, he's made... Didn't
he do those British crime films? Was that him?
He did. What did he win the Oscars for? I've listed... He did American Beauty, sorry.
Oh, that's right.
And then he did The Bond, Skyfall and Spectre as well.
That's right.
So he's got the rights to make these 4 films that I think will go absolutely gangbusters. They haven't announced whether they're all going to be released together or they'll be rolled out separately. What they've said is it'll be unique in terms of how movies are promoted and rolled out because it's 4 movies telling the same story. It sounds like an extraordinary concept. I'll be watching all 4 of them, I reckon.
Absolutely. It'll be massive.
23 minutes after 7. Lots of texts coming in on the Duttons text line. Big 10 Ford, GW Haval, Hyundai, Isuzu, Ute, Mazda, Mitsubishi, Nissan, Ram, Subaru and Volkswagen. Duttons, easy to do business with. We'll get to those in just a moment. But first, let's check traffic thanks to Keezer. Are you tired of back pain? Well, try Keezer. KIESER.com.au.
Thanks, Will. Smash to look out for at Flinders Park today. It's on Holbrooks Road near Hartley Road. Got some pretty big delays around there too. Activity at Windsor Gardens also slow. St Olds Road near Lagonda Drive and getting busy at Underdale, Holbrooks Road near Henley Beach Road. Few delays South Road at Tonsley with some road plates in use there with cameras Porter of Expressway Wingfield and Trimmer Prated Season. It's back to work time and Bunnings Trade can help you charge into the new year. Save time with the Power Pass app. You can view pricing, check stock levels and skip the registers using self-checkout. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
5AA Mornings with Matthew Pantelis.
Yesterday morning, Margaret rang in. She told us a really distressing story about a granddaughter. First time on public transport by herself. The bus refused to stop. Kept going despite the girl's pleas. John Whelan, CEO, Department of Infrastructure and Transport.
Weekday mornings from 9.
Following your story, I immediately got onto our public transport area and the driver has been taken off any school routes.
On 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
Join over 60,000 Adelaide homes and say yes to lowering your energy bills with Yes, your energy saving solutions. To beat the summer heat, Yes can connect you with a new air conditioner thanks to the SA government initiative called REPS. Yes is offering eligible concession households a fully installed 2.6 kilowatt Rinnai system for only $8.99. Yes, $8.99. For T's and C's on this unbeatable offer from Your Energy Saving Solutions, go to yess.net.au.
Beyond the darkness of the night, in the heart of the Botanic Garden, awaits an immersive journey of light. Enter an extraordinary world where nature is the artist's canvas. Explore the garden transformed into an outdoor art gallery of awe-inspiring beauty under the stars. Don't miss natural wonders at the Botanic Garden this Adelaide Fringe, Feb 23 to March 17. Book tickets now.
Now, everything under the sun cops a beating from UV rays, so if you cover things up, they last longer, and the same goes for you.
2 in 3 Aussies will be diagnosed with skin cancer, which kills twice as many men as women. Don't be a statistic, be sun smart.
Now, it starts with checking the UV and remembering to slip, slop, slap, seek and slide every day. But there's plenty more sun smarts where that came from.
Did you know that sunscreen takes 20 minutes to fully activate and only works for up to 2 hours? Caps offer far less protection than broad brim hats, and UV levels 3 and above are dangerous no matter the temperature. And tan skin is actually a sign of skin cells in trauma.
So check our YouTube and Facebook live streams to see today's maximum UV, and don't forget to download the SunSmart app, cover up and protect your skin.
It's Edward from Edwardstown Mazda, South Australia's #1 destination for Mazda. Edwardstown Mazda has a very serious offer. So this is my most serious voice. This month's get savings equal to the on-road costs, plus free servicing on all 2023 plates. T's and C's apply. I'm Edward from Edwardstown Mazda, and I'm being very serious right now.
Rosanna Mangiarelli here from 7 News. Join me and Will Goodings for Adelaide's leading news hour, 7 News, tonight at 6 o'clock.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
27 after 7, we'll talk sports shortly, albeit the biggest story in the country right now is a sports story. David has called in on the issue of drugs. Morning to you, Dave.
Yeah, good morning. How you going?
Good, mate. Dave.
David, I'm the same age group as you, right? Probably 1969.
Yep. Bang on.
I hear you talk regularly about your 8 beers and all that sort of thing, and I'm of the same cloth, right? So we're very similar in that sort of thing.
Mm.
And I don't believe, well, I find it hard to believe that you don't go to a 21st birthday party or you don't go to an amateur league football club and you sit there and not notice, and if you've never noticed, I'm blown away, the revolving toilet door that goes in and out of either the footy club, in and out of the toilets in pairs, all that sort of thing, it is rife. It is absolutely rife. And the reality is that these kids, see, I'm in your age group, I'm calling them kids, but I feel like my dad. They don't get whacked off their head to a point where they're coming out violent, like booze does to some people. They feel as though it's safe, and because it's not regulated, we get concerned about it. But it is everywhere. It's in society. Everyone's using it, and it's a worry. But people need to wake up. People need to wake up and understand that it's rife in the community, and it's amongst good kids, good young adults that don't go out and cause anyone any harm or anything like that. They just do it because it's cheaper than booze, and that's their lifestyle. Unfortunately, it's there.
I think it depends on where you are and what industry you're in terms of your exposure to it. I don't know. Like maybe I'm living in a fool's paradise, but I got an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old kid, and they're not hanging around with people like that.
But also, you're not hanging out at footy clubs like Dave's talking about.
No, I'm not.
So,
but I mean, there's been a lot of talk. I struggle with the idea that this stuff is better for you than booze. I mean, there's probably instances where the behaviour of people who's completely drunk is completely appalling and worse than other people who might be on drugs on the night. But, Koch has got this sort of clean drug mystique about it, which I think is garbage. And the reality is, historically in South Australia, Koch hasn't been the drug in South Australia. Meth's been the drug in South Australia. And if you want to talk about the impact that that's had on amateur football, how many stories have there been over the last few years about guys taking speed on match day and going out there and carrying on like, Jack the Ripper on the football field? So it shouldn't be seen as an alternative to alcohol at all.
It's going to be a big talking point that will develop over the course of the day, and doubtless you'll hear the latest and Rowie and Timmy's take on the sports show this afternoon. For a great meal, you're on a winner at the Excelsior Hotel. You just know it's a Barreau Hotel.
When your emergency can't wait,
Neither should you. At Calvary Adelaide's Emergency Department, you'll experience shorter wait times before receiving personalised care from experienced specialists. With Adelaide's only 24-hour private emergency department, Calvary provides emergency care at any time with no time spared. For fast, specialist private emergency care, get care 24/7. At the Calvary Adelaide Emergency Department, 120 Angus Street, Adelaide.
At Coles, get breakfast on the go for less. With Sanitarium Up and Go Liquid Breakfast 250ml 3-pack, half price at just $3.25. That's great value, hands down, at Coles. Offer ends Tuesday.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Sunny and 35 today with the 7:30 news. I'm Graham Goodings.
Physio Extra hands-on physio at 6 locations. Even more convenient now with online bookings at physioextra.com.
The future of suspended Melbourne forward Joel Smith has become even more clouded after the AFL revealed he's under investigation over more anti-doping rule violations by Sport Integrity Australia. 28-year-old Smith has been suspended since mid-October after he returned a positive in-competition test for cocaine after the Demons' round 23 win over Hawthorn last August. Smith also faces an additional rule violation for possession of the drug dating back to 2022. The US is reportedly preparing to dump reforms aimed at boosting the uptake of electric vehicles. The New York Times reports the Biden administration wants to give car makers longer to adjust to the changes. Australian opposition MPs are seizing on the news, urging the government to scrap similar planned rules here. Shadow Energy Minister Ted O'Brien says the overhaul will drive up vehicle prices.
This is what the industry is predicting. And unlike the United States and other places that get subsidies for consumers, no, Labor's not doing that. They're just whacking a tax. Now, it's fair enough to reduce emissions, but there has to be genuine choice, and you can't have prices skyrocket.
A man has been caught speeding and drink driving near Truro. Senior Constable Rebecca Stokes says it happened last night.
Police clocked his Toyota travelling at 133 kilometres an hour in a 110 zone. It was just before 9:30 p.m. on the Sturt Highway, Annandale.
He then recorded a blood alcohol reading of 0.165, more than 3 times the legal limit. The 27-year-old has been reported for drink driving and will be summoned to front court. Julian Assange is making a last-ditch attempt to avoid extradition from Britain to the US on espionage charges. The WikiLeaks founder is facing 17 charges of espionage and 1 charge of computer misuse over his website's publication of classified US documents. Despite being absent from the hearing due to his health, supporters of Assange, including his wife Stella, protested outside court.
It's about you, it's about us, it's about the public's right to know. It's about the right to be able to speak freely without being put in prison and hounded and terrorised by the state.
A state funeral will be held for renowned Aboriginal leader and former Australian of the Year, Dr. Lucia O'Donoghue, who died earlier this month at the age of 91 after a life dedicated to improving the rights, health and well-being of Indigenous Australians. David Bruce has more details.
From her time spent as South Australia's first Aboriginal nursing trainee at the Royal Adelaide Hospital, Dr O'Donoghue went on to become responsible for overseeing Aboriginal welfare policy, played a major role in formulating native title legislation, and was the founding chairperson of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Commission. She was named Australian of the Year in 1984, was invested as a Commander of the Order of the British Empire in 81, and later a Companion of the Order of Australia, and is widely respected as one of the greatest Aboriginal leaders of all time. Her state funeral will be held at St Peter's Cathedral at 1 p.m. on Friday the 8th of March, and everyone's welcome to celebrate a remarkable life.
A Beatles biopic is in the works. It will comprise 4 films, each telling the Fab Four's story from a different band member's perspective. The project has been endorsed by the Beatles. The movies will be released in 2027. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Agostino Mitsubishi's Good to Go giveaway is on now. Receive a bonus $2,000 fuel card on 2023 Build Triton.
Can't wait for the Beatles movies, Tom.
Oh, it's going to be great, isn't it? They are timeless, aren't they? No question. Let's start with a little bit of football now here, and Port Adelaide's players. They'll hit the training track this morning as they look ahead to Friday night's practice match against Adelaide at Alberton. The Crows will do the same at Westlakes as they also look ahead to the match, with both clubs set to bring in some key players for that contest. Well, Australia's cricket tour of New Zealand begins today with the first of 3 T20s before the Test series. For the first time, the Chappell-Hadley Trophy will be up for grabs in the 20-over format. Former Australian captain Ian Chappell has told Wide World of Sports it's another blow for one-day cricket.
I think it's a very good game. In fact, I thought it was the next best game of cricket to a Test match. But I don't think that the administrators have done the 50-over game any favours.
Chaotic scenes in the A-League overnight, with the Melbourne Victory fighting back from a goal down to score twice in stoppage time and beat Western United 2-1. The winner coming in the 98th minute.
The Mashash, the cross, Assange's there, De Silva, he's done it! Damien De Silva with 2 goals in 3 minutes. The veteran French defender.
Amazing stuff. Audio courtesy of 10. Adelaide United host the Western Sydney Wanderers on Saturday night. Meantime, in the English Premier League, Manchester City has just broken the deadlock. They've taken a 1-0 lead against Brentford thanks to an Erling Haaland goal. There's about 15 minutes to play in that match. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
At Flinders Park, look out for a crash Holbrooks Road near Hartley Road causing a few delays. Activity at Windsor Gardens today, St Olds Road near Lagonda Drive. Slow at Leewood Gardens. Works Mount Barker Road near the freeway. Getting busy Brighton Road, Brighton, with cameras this morning. May Terrace, Brooklyn Park and Montague Road at Cavan. Pick up a better brekkie at Hungry Jack's. $10 for a Jack's brekkie roll and a cheese toasty. Paired with a barista-made coffee till 11 a.m. On app only and pick up at Hungry Jack's. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
And now the 5AA forecast.
Stay cool. Service your aircon at Automasters. And keep cool with Cool Now, Pay Later options.
Sunny and 35 today, 33 and sunny tomorrow. Friday a little cooler, cloudy 22. Saturday mostly sunny, 27. Right now it's 26. More news as it happens on 5AA.
You can do just about anything online. Shop, meet new friends, watch reruns of your favourite TV shows or movies. But there's one thing you should never do online, and that's your will. From the simplest to the most complex wills and estate plans, Donlan Lawyers can answer your questions and help carry out your final wishes. For wills and estate planning, visit donlanlawyers.com. Hindmarsh Square, Adelaide, and Ocean Street, Victor Harbour.
When you're a market-leading builder like Regent Homes, you never rest on your laurels. It's why Regent Homes is South Australia's only builder offering 3D virtual reality technology in their Envision Design Studio. At your first design meeting, you'll walk through your home in virtual reality. It's a wow moment, enriching your experience so you can make the right design choices from the start. Regent Homes. Innovative design, elevated living. Visit regenthomes.com.au.
If you're fed up with dentures and failing teeth, Next Smile Australia can help. When you choose All on 4 from Next Smile Australia, you're choosing the gold standard of permanent functional teeth. You're choosing a clinically proven 98% success rate. You're choosing 4 decades of experience from Australia's leading All on 4 surgeons. Get the smile of your life in as little as 1 day at Next Smile Australia. Book a complimentary consultation at nextsmile.com.au.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head to 5AA on Facebook or YouTube.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
22 to 8, Richard Marles, the Deputy Prime Minister and Defence Minister, coming up very shortly, and yesterday's huge announcement regarding the future of the Australian Navy. We'll get to that in a moment. First, we go around the courts with Sean Fuster.
It's time to go around the courts with Sean Fuster on 5AA Breakfast.
What he said. Of course, the Chief Court Reporter of the Adelaide Advertiser and host of the excellent Just Lawful program and podcast on 5AA. Sean, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. Kind of appropriate you started with the cure there, because the government's been all about curing problems this week.
Absolutely, trying to, at least. Well, this is obviously in relation to the bodies in the barrels case, Sean, and the impending release of Hayden. Now, how watertight is their plan? Because we've seen in the past, and you'd be more across this than anyone in SA, in the media. Has it got an element of retrospectivity that the Supreme Court might bulk at?
Let me start with this thought. One of my favourite things about Labor government legislation, I'm talking the previous government, the Weatherall ran era, was when a prosecutor went before the Supreme Court to argue in favour of one of their pieces of legislation. He asked the court to excuse the fact that we all know that Labor government legislation is, and I quote, rushed through, not thought through. Now, that was very controversial at the time, and that prosecutor was ordered to apologise. But Labor does have a history of at least giving the appearance of reacting to things, responding to things, rather than taking the time to actually look for loopholes and, as you say, David, potential pitfalls. So let's keep that in mind while we talk about this new piece of legislation. What the government said earlier this week was, we believe that the existing laws to do with detaining high-risk offenders and placing them on extended supervision orders are sufficient for Mark Ray Hayden. So what they're saying is they think they can go before the Supreme Court and prove that Hayden continues to be a threat to the South Australian community, and as a result, the court will agree he is a high-risk offender. If they agree he's a high-risk offender, they'll put parole-like conditions on him, even though he's completely finished not only his non-parole period, but his full 26-year sentence. And he will continue to live in the community under parole-like conditions for as long as the Supreme Court can be repeatedly convinced on application that he is a high-risk offender. They're saying that's fine, that's not a problem. The reason they claim that they're moving to change the law now is because Hayden is someone who did not commit a violent crime. He is a person who assisted in the commission of a violent crime. He was never found guilty of any of the bodies in the barrels murders themselves. He was found guilty of assisting in the disposal of the bodies and the hiding and the cover-up of the entire operation. So what Kaya Ma and Peter Malinauskas are saying is, we think the definition needs to be expanded to include assistance to traditional high-risk offending. That way this situation will never happen again. Now that partially sounds like some very clever political manoeuvring, but it's also very necessary to avoid exactly what you were talking about just then, Pambo, because back in 1996 there was a very famous case of Cable. Cable was a man who committed manslaughter in New South Wales, and while he was in prison waiting to finish his sentence, there were allegations and charges that he was threatening victims' families, the families of the people he had hurt so badly. So the New South Wales government at the time passed a law that said he would not be released. He would be placed under a detention order. And the High Court came back and said, you cannot make laws that only affect one single person. And the High Court's taken that attitude since and said, well, if you're making a responsive law, if you're making a knee-jerk law, if you are reacting to something that's brand new and it's caused by one particular person, we find that law to be constitutionally repugnant. So the government's basically got to say, no, we're not doing this because of Hayden. We're doing it because of Hayden-like situations. Because if they do it just because of Hayden, the High Court's going to throw it out the minute they take a look at it.
Well, that being the case, Sean, are there any other cases that might come up over the next decade or so where people would be now captured by this law that you can readily think of?
No. And that's the shortest and simplest answer I can give.
That would make it a difficult argument to prosecute.
Correct, yeah.
And that's what I'm thinking, because, you know, it's all very well and good, and I'm not criticising the government one iota for thinking that we need to do something about Hayden, regardless of whether or not he is or is not a high-risk offender. That's still to be argued before the courts. The fact remains that he was the person who covered up the single worst incidence of serial killing in the country's history, that the families of all of the bodies in the barrels victims remain in mortal fear of him, are terrified of what he'll do when he's out, and do not want him out. Victims' rights need to be considered, and the government has done the right thing and responded to that. The problem is I don't know that there is actually a legal response that can work in Hayden's case, especially when the parole board has conceded that their files show that he has been a model prisoner who has rehabilitated inside and now shows victim awareness and empathy. Without passing any moral judgment on the person, he seems to have done everything that our prison system is designed for you to do. He seems to have, to use the colloquial, paid his debt to society. If that's the case, how do you create a new set of laws to keep him and people like him inside when there's no other people like him at the moment that are going to be caught by that, and you fall back into this Cable question?
I'd still like more clarity, Sean, because I've seen the I've seen the comments from the parole board from Francis Nelson, who is sort of arguing, commenting more as an observer in this case, because it's not a...
Which is all she can be in this case. She's got no role to play in this.
But when they talk about all the terrific sort of personality-changing things he's apparently done in prison, what are they? What do you have to do?
So
do you go to a course with some social worker and, let's just talk about the wrongness of putting 11 human beings into barrels inside a bank vault, and suddenly the penny drops? Like, probably shouldn't have done that. I mean, how onerous is it?
Twee as that sounds, it is like that, but it's more intensive than that. There are multiple courses that are, and again, this is not me defending it, this is me simply stating the way it works. There are multiple courses that offenders are put through in terms of psychological impact upon victims, physical and financial impact upon victims, developing empathy for victims, working on their own anger management issues, identifying their own criminality. The problem with our system is that those programs don't kick in until just before someone is due to be released. So it's like, you've got parole coming up in X months, X years, better put you in all the mandatory programs. So it's not an ongoing process while someone is in jail. It doesn't last throughout their entire incarceration. It's a sudden, intensive burst of rehabilitation right at the end.
So just to be clear then, in the absence of this law, or if this law was deemed to be unconstitutional, May 21, Mark Hayden walks out, and is he subject to any controls beyond what you, I, or anyone listening would be?
Yeah, look, if the new law doesn't come in, and if the government cannot place him under an extended supervision order under the existing laws, that's exactly right. He walks out literally a free man. It's that moment in all the movies where someone walks out and the doors of the prison close behind them, they've got a bag over their shoulder, and they walk on to rejoin society.
Amazing. Great analysis as always, Sean. Sean Fuster, Chief Court Reporter for The Advertiser, May 21, Mark Ray Hayden. If the laws don't work, who knows where is he going to be.
Make sure you check out Just Lawful as well with Sean and Daniel. It's worth getting on and getting in early when they jumping into cases and stories and following them across what is always a very entertaining and thought-provoking journey. Let's check traffic thanks to Keezer. Are you tired of back pain? We'll try Keezer, KIESER.com.au.
Thanks, Will. At Flinders Park, crash on Holbrooks Road near Hartley Road. Busy at the moment at Windsor Gardens for works at Olds Road near Lagonda Drive. Slow at Wingfield, Cormac Road near Magazine Road, and getting busy Brighton Road at Brighton. You'll find cameras this morning, Brooker Terrace, Richmond, and Port Wakefield Road at Jepps Cross. Worried about cheap insurance? Who offers great value cover you won't regret? Amy does. Before buying insurance issued by Amy, read the PDS and TMD at amy.com.au and consider whether it's right for you. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. Right now, Toyota Material Handling is having a massive clear-out of 2023 plated forklifts. Score a great deal across a selected range of new Toyota forklifts currently in stock. Counterbalance and reach forklifts, walkie stackers and more. So if it's 2023 plated, get a great Toyota forklift deal. Visit toyotamaterialhandling.com.au. Get a Toyota forklift. T's and C's apply. Offer ends March 31st.
They're selling fast. Tickets for the Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery's $3.6 million grand prize are over 75% sold. You could win your fully furnished dream home in Henley Beach with $250,000 in the bank. But with over 75% of tickets already sold, you'd better act now. Join the fight and support life-changing medical research for all South Australians. homelottery.com.au. Licence M14493.
Thinking about a solar battery? Don't wait. Connect with NRG Solar and bring home a solar battery with a rock-solid 10-year warranty. Use the energy you generate during the day. Store some for later, reducing reliance on energy providers and putting money back in your pocket. See NRG Solar in their new premises at St Mary's. Bigger place, better space, some amazing people. Visit NRG Solar now at 1275 South Road or call 1300 858 160.
With help from Flurio Milk Company and The Other Way, cafes all over Adelaide have joined the fight to reduce plastic waste. Instead of single-use plastic bottles, they've introduced The Other Way's reusable 18-litre kegs. In the initial week, they stand to eliminate 1,500 plastic bottles. Together with other cafes, supermarkets, schools, restaurants, hotels and workplaces, millions of single-use plastic bottles will be taken out of circulation. You gotta feel good about that. Visit fluriomilkco.com.au for more.
Get saving now with City Discount Tyres. We're offering great deals on the world's top brands in tyres, wheels, suspension and parts. Suitable for four-wheel drives, SUVs and passenger cars, including Falcon, Michelin, Pirelli, Kumho, Hankook and many more. Finance options available. Search citydiscounttires.com.au and locate your nearest dealer today. City Discount Tyres. We're driven by value.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head to 5AA on Facebook or YouTube.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
10 to 8. Momentous announcement yesterday for the future of the Australian Navy and the future of the South Australian economy. Those two things inextricably linked, as we spoke at length about yesterday and in previous days as we've interviewed the Premier. Today, we speak with the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia and Defence Minister Richard Marles, following an announcement that is essentially not only the biggest expansion of the Navy's fleet since the Second World War, but if realised, that 26 major service combatants would have our Navy dwarfing the size of the Royal Navy in terms of major surface combatants, who number 19 today. It's pretty remarkable to think about that taking place in Australia. The Deputy Prime Minister joins us now. Richard Marles, good morning to you.
Good morning, how are you?
Yeah, we're well. Huge announcement yesterday, but we only know too well in South Australia the history of big defence announcements. The attack submarines became SSN AUKUS, the Hunter-class frigates went from 9 to 6. In fact, I went back last night and read a bit of the DIB report from 1986 to get a sense of what's the scoreboard look like for Australia when it comes to major defence announcements. And at the time, it said something like we need 8 or 9 destroyers and a similar number of frigates. And in the 40 years since that, we never really achieved any of those numbers. Why is this announcement yesterday going to be any different?
Yeah, look, I mean, those observations are right, and in a sense that is the history which, someone in my position bears as a legacy in trying to convince people that what we are saying today will be different. I think there's a couple of points to make. So firstly, what has happened in the past is that we've seen announcements made which go a long way into the future, and there isn't the proper budgetary allocation for it. So what we tried to do in making this announcement yesterday was make clear not just the vision for where we're going, but here is the money to pay for it. So over the course of the next decade, it's a $54 billion spend. There had been $43 billion allocated in the budget for our surface fleet before yesterday's announcement. So yesterday we announced an increase in defence spending of $11 billion to see that this happens. So that really does set what we did yesterday apart from announcements that we've seen in the past, because we've completely put our money where our mouth is, if you like, and make sure that the money is there to make this happen. We're also really clear that there are challenges that we will face even with this being fully funded. There are always challenges when it comes to big defence projects. They're complex, they're large. It's not. They can easily run into issues which see them run over time and over budget. So what we've made clear is that what is being planned to be built at the Osborne Naval Shipyard in terms of the Hunter frigates, we will stick to. We will not change, so that there aren't no additional add-ons. When we talk, for example, about acquiring a new general purpose frigate, we need to see that in surface as quickly as possible. And so we're going to buy a product which is off the shelf. We're not going to change it. We're specifically looking at products or ships which are being constructed in the world today, which are actually in service today. So, I mean, the technical language there is minimum viable capability, but we want to be making sure that we get something which can do the job, which is simple, which is understood, and that's where we are focusing our energy. So I think those two in combination give a greater sense of confidence that what we've announced yesterday will actually come to pass. And the final point is that, for Adelaide, in fact true for Perth as well, but for Adelaide, what we are putting in place is a decade or decades long pipeline of work, which means that we really can walk down a path of continuous naval shipbuilding, and that's been a key recommendation of the Defence Strategic Review, of the Surface Fleet Review, the need for us as a country to have continuous naval shipbuilding. Now, we've had naval shipbuilding. I think the truth is, and since you alluded to it in your question, probably the history of it in Australia and in Adelaide has been discontinuous shipbuilding. We need to actually commit to a pipeline so that the skills that we build up in that place, that the ecosystem which will exist at the Osborne Naval Shipyard, is something that people can rely on. Meaning, if you're parents and you've got young kids coming through school now, that is a job that you can go to and you can go to for life, and that governments will fund the training for you to do that job. And that's why there's such an emphasis in terms of what we're announcing around the skills training, so that we get the people that we need. But it is that focus on continuous, enduring shipbuilding, which we see as being so fundamental to delivering the capability Australia needs, but obviously it'll have a massive impact, as you say, on the South Australian economy.
Yeah, the announcement yesterday charted a path over the ensuing decades to a state-of-the-art Navy for Australia, but the strategic environment at the moment is pretty fraught. Are you concerned about a capability gap for the rest of this decade?
Well, the answer to that is we are very much aware of the need to get capability into service quicker than what we imagined. I mean, we inherited a declining Navy. We inherited from the former government the oldest surface fleet that had been operating in Australia since the end of the Second World War. HMAS Anzac specifically, it was a ship in pretty terrible state. And so it's for that reason that we are accelerating the acquisition of a new general purpose frigate, that we want to see the first of which being in service by the end of this decade. And that's about as quick an acquisition as you can see happen. And again, to put that in some context, what we inherited from the former government was that the first new surface combatant in our Navy would come to pass in 2034, and that would be the first of the Hunter-class frigates. That timing remains the same. But by accelerating the purchase of a general-purpose frigate, we will in fact have another 3 surface combatants in service by that date. So 1 turns into 4, and that's precisely because we do think we need capability in place much sooner than was previously imagined by the former government. And so when you actually strip back what the Surface Fleet Review said and the government's response to it, right there is a need to accelerate the acquisition of warships, and that is what we are doing.
Minister, a lot of the really big work for SA is going to come when AUKUS kicks in with the subs. Is the Albanese government confident that the AUKUS treaty is Donald Trump-proof? And are we getting our embassy at the moment, led by none other than the esteemed former PM Kevin Rudd, to undertake some sort of charm offensive with Conservative Republicans to keep the Donald in the tent on the AUKUS question?
Well, you know, like I do, that Kevin is very charming, and he has been doing a great job in the US Congress, and we saw across the political spectrum in America support for the alliance with Australia, but support for the AUKUS deal, and so that actually ends up being the answer to your question. I mean, like, and to be serious, like what we achieved and what in the legislation that was put through the Congress in December, and Kevin really did work very hard on seeing this happen really quickly, was an unprecedented expression from Republicans, from Democrats alike, about how they value Australia and how they value the specific AUKUS deal with Australia by which we will acquire nuclear-powered submarines. And that goes right down to the specifics of the question of America selling Virginia-class submarines to Australia to be in operation from the early part of the next decade. Now, I mean, when you look at the bipartisan commitment in the United States to that, I think it does give us a sense of confidence that no matter who is the president of the US after the next presidential election, there'll be support for this arrangement, and there'll be support for the alliance with Australia. And indeed, you know, when President Trump was president, he was supportive of the alliance with Australia. So we do have a sense of confidence about what the future holds in America, no matter what that future is. And I think we've seen the evidence of that over the last few months.
Deputy PM and Defence Minister Richard Marles, thanks for joining us this morning on 5AA.
Thanks for having me.
Jarvis Toyota has moved to their brand new home in Brighton Road, Somerton Park. Take advantage of opening savings across the Toyota certified pre-owned range and enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota at Jarvis Toyota. All certified pre-owned vehicles are tested and backed by Toyota, including a full service history and 90-point safety check. Toyota certified, pre-owned in a class of its own. Jarvis Toyota, now at Brighton Road, Somerton Park, proudly celebrating 22 years of great deals.
I was just doing my job. I didn't think I'd get injured.
The doctor said it was a routine procedure? Right. The car came out of nowhere and it smashed right into us.
At DBH Lawyers, we're here to listen to your story. Our team of local South Australian lawyers will help you navigate the law and find the best way forward. We're with you. We're for you. We're DBH Lawyers. dbh.com.au.
Don't you hate it when everything you liked about a display model cost extra? The gang at Austrac Campers hate it too, which is why when you buy an Austrac camper, everything listed is included in the price.
Austrac
Campers.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Sunny and 35 today with the 8 o'clock news. Good morning, I'm Graham Goodings.
Getting fit, your New Year's resolution? Book a Pilates and group exercise class at FIVEAA Extra. 6 locations.
The federal government says a planned overhaul of the Navy will help Australia protect key maritime trade routes. The nation's total fleet size will eventually double with the purchase of frigates and autonomous drone ships. New vessels will begin hitting the water from around 2030. Defence Minister Richard Marles has told Today the military expansion is long overdue.
As we are watching great power competition happen, as you know, frankly, as we are seeing China engage in the single biggest conventional military build-up since the end of the Second World War, it raises the prospect of coercion for a country like Australia, an island trading nation where we're dependent on sea trade.
Melbourne forward Joel Smith has been accused of cocaine trafficking, putting his AFL career into serious jeopardy. Christina Hearn reports.
The AFL has confirmed Joel Smith is being investigated on 3 counts of trafficking or attempting to traffic cocaine. Under the anti-doping code, trafficking is selling, giving, transporting, sending, delivering or distributing a banned substance to a third party. It's alleged Sports Integrity Australia found text messages on Smith's phone, reportedly offering cocaine to Demons teammates. The Melbourne forward is already facing a 2-year ban after testing positive to cocaine on game day last year. Now he's facing a potential 4-year ban.
The state government has rejected claims it's delaying private e-scooter legislation. It's been a year since the opposition introduced a bill to allow private e-scooters to be used in public spaces, but they claim government legislation to legalise the devices may not come into effect for another year. Transport and Infrastructure Minister Tom Koutsantonis says legislation will be introduced mid-year.
There is no delay. We released what we heard, and we've always said that legislation would be in the Parliament in the middle of the year, as we promised, and everything is on track. So I don't know where Mr Tazi is getting his idea that there's any delay.
A man and a woman, both in their 40s, have been arrested on a premises under demolition at Woodville South. A group of 4 were reported acting suspiciously just after 9 last night. One was charged with breach of bail. The hunt is continuing for the other 2. Woolworths is losing its CEO. Brad Baducci has announced he's stepping down. It follows intense speculation in recent weeks over alleged price gouging in the industry. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Agostino Mitsubishi's Good to Go giveaway is on now. Receive a bonus $1,000 fuel card on 2023 Build Outlander.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Graham. Adelaide forward Darcy Fogarty believes the size of the team's leadership group demonstrates the strength of the squad. Fogarty is one of 8 players in the group and one of 4 fresh faces, along with Mitch Hinge, Lockie Murphy and Wayne Millerer. And Fogarty has told Robbie and Timmy G the fact there are so many good young leaders can only be a positive.
It's a good sign of where the club's at and how people are tracking. So I think it's just a really good growth from the last couple of years of where the squad's been able to get to.
The Crows will train at Westlakes this morning, while the Power will also train at Alberton this morning as both clubs prepare for Friday night's practice match at Alberton. Let's go to cricket, and South Aussie Travis Head is expected to bat at the top of the order in today's T20 clash. That's against New Zealand in Wellington. The Aussies will be looking to impress ahead of the World Cup, which will happen mid-year. One game in the A-League overnight with Melbourne victory 2-1 winners against Western United. Meantime, Manchester City has moved to within 1 point of leaders Liverpool in the English Premier League following a hard-fought 1-0 win against Brentford. Erling Haaland pouncing on a slip-up at the back to score the decisive goal in the 71st minute.
And now they can try and break with Erling Haaland, who could be in on goal here. This is Erling Haaland. Makes no mistake. Manchester City have found a breakthrough.
Audio there thanks to Optus. Meantime, in European Champions League action, there's about 20 minutes to play, with PSV Eindhoven and Borussia Dortmund locked at 1-1, while it's 0-0 between Inter Milan and Atletico Madrid. And a great first-up win for South Aussie Thanasi Kokkinakis in Mexico after he beat Jack Draper in 3 sets. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Good morning there. Got residual delays from earlier crash at Flinders Park, Holbrooks Road near Hartley Road causing a few delays. Getting busy this morning, Porter Expressway at Port Adelaide. Works at Leewood Gardens, Mount Barker Road near the freeway causing delays. Building Brighton Road, Brighton with Camera's Trimmer Parade season and Waterloo Corner Road at Burton. More smart storage for less at Big W. Clear away the clutter with their range of selected large Sistema storage containers. Now half price. That's more for less at Big W. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Stay cool. Service your aircon at Automasters. And keep cool with Cool Now, Pay Later options.
Blue skies ahead, sunny and 35 today, 33 and sunny tomorrow. Friday a little cooler, cloudy and 22, and Saturday mostly sunny, back up to 27. Right now it's 27 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and
We've got a Smeg toaster for you right through to 9 o'clock on 82230055.
They don't make bad stuff, Smeg. It's all crackerjack.
It is certainly.
It all makes your kitchen look 10 times better.
As you've just heard in 5AA News, big announcement posted to the stock market just a few moments ago that the managing director and group CEO of Woolworths, Brad Banducci, has given notice of his intention to retire and will, by agreement with the board, will leave in September 2024. Now, he was responsible, of course, as part of the Four Corners investigation earlier this week, which will be most Australians' lasting memory of the Banducci time at Woolworths.
He literally walked out.
He literally walked out. Here it is.
Rod Sims, the former head of the ACCC, says that we have one of the most concentrated supermarkets in the world. Is he lying?
It's not true.
His words are that we have...
by the way.
I don't think you would impugn his integrity and his understanding of competition law.
I'm just saying the world has got much more competitive since the terrific initiatives that were put in place back in whatever it was, 2008-9.
He retired 18 months ago. He's not...
Okay, can we take that out? Is that okay?
Sorry, let's just keep going.
So we're going to...
Sorry, what are you unhappy with?
I shouldn't have said that about Rod about it being
Well,
retired.
you did say it,
Yeah,
and...
I mean, he is retired, but I shouldn't have said that, Angus. Are we going to leave it in there if we are?
Well, I mean, we're on the record. You said it. I mean, you know, let's move on. But
Yeah, no, I think I'm done, guys. I do this with good intent. You know, I don't do this with bad intent.
But you're walking out, really?
No. Can we just...
He is. Well, he turned out he really was. He's resigning September 2024 to be replaced.
Well, you know, don't bang Ed on the door on the way out. I mean, this is the bloke who thought it was his job as Woolworths CEO to use Big W as the sort of, you know, societal change vanguard, putting out statements over the PA telling us all to vote yes to the referendum. Recently, they had that absurd toing and froing about whether they were going to stock the Australia Day flags or not. Like, you know, the guy's the epitome of corporate Australian sanctimony. And meanwhile, you know, stick to your knitting. He's now at a point where with its flagship news program, Woolworths, has been smashed on national television as a price gouging, anti-primary producer racketeering operation. You know, Brad, your work here is finished.
Yeah. Well, inheriting all that will be Amanda Bardwell, who has been at Woolworths for the last 23 years.
So she's taking the job at the right time.
So she's taking the job at the right time.
No way she's going to be anywhere near as bad as he was.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal. $2.15 million total fixed remuneration to be run Woolworths.
Well, I've just run a few supermarkets.
Well, I suppose it is by market cap. It's Australia's 14th biggest company.
Yeah, okay.
So it's a lot of supermarkets and pubs.
I was being facetious. Yeah,
14th. So just behind Telstra.
She's got her work cut out.
She does have a work cut out for her. That is absolutely the case. Let's hear some rumours.
Smeg.
Give us the tea, Adelaide.
If you're building or renovating, your first choice should be visiting the Smeg showroom at Debney Distributors. Taste the difference with Smeg. Get calling now on 8223 0000. Speak to Sam and Lucy. You can remain, of course, totally anonymous and let us in on what rumour you've heard around town, big or small, national or local, uber local too. A lot of rumours about people's sort of local shopping centres or indeed local councils and works that are going on, whatever it might well be. We don't put a lid on it, and we don't worry if it's particularly local either.
No,
in fact, we like them
local.
when their bit of local knowledge gets dropped as part of the rumour file. So get calling
100%.
now, and we'll give away this excellent Smeg toaster. What's the colour of that toaster?
I'd describe that as mint. Thank you,
Okay.
Luce. I just looked at Luce.
You're
You
the
can read
colour
my
guy.
mind. When I look at Luce and say, I would describe this as, and then don't say anything, that's when she gets a little speaker in my ear and says, mint, burnt sienna, she knows all the colours.
Oh, yeah, she's right across the full colour palette.
All I know is it looks good.
Yeah, it works well. Makes good
Oh,
toast. 11 after 8, it's time for Breaking It 8.
We've heard that there was a quite ugly incident or some quite ugly behaviour in State Parliament late yesterday, so much so that a female Liberal MLC, Heidi Girolamo, became so either distressed or angry that she had to flee the chamber. Now, it was during some debate about an industrial relations bill, and I've now been told by sources on both sides of the political divide, Labor and Liberal, that Heidi Girolamo and other Liberals were the subject of a flailing attack by someone who in the past has spoken out about harassment and so forth at Parliament, none other than Connie Benares. Now, I haven't had a chance to put this to Ms Benares yet, but the story that is being put by both sides was that the level of abuse and invective became so pronounced that Heidi Girolamo stormed out of the chamber. It has been put to me by one person that she didn't just storm out, that she was so distressed that she was actually reduced to tears. Now, some Liberals have disputed whether it actually got to that stage, but I've been sent some audio, and it was a pretty appalling advertisement for the way the Parliament can operate when things degenerate to this level. It would be surprising, I think, if Ms Benares behaved as dramatically as some have said to me, given her past comments about conduct at Parliament. But both sides are saying that her conduct was off the charts. And as far as Ms Girolamo is concerned, she was so disgusted and distressed by it all that she thought it would be better off for her if she just left the chamber completely and sat it out. So another red letter moment there for the state's upper house. It's absurd. Hey, one other little bonus breaking at 8. We understand that David Spears today is going to announce that he's going to bring in more legislation about the conduct of political parties around elections after, I think, on 10 occasions he brought the bill in to ban core flutes, which ultimately succeeded when Labor decided to back it ahead of the Dunstan by-election. He's saying that now's the time to ban annoying how-to-vote cards on election day, which was something we discussed with Rebecca Sharkey only a couple of weeks ago. They want a full ban on anyone approaching people at polling booths on election day telling them how to vote. And it'll be interesting to see, given they did eventually back the core flute ban, what Label say about that one too.
Would there be a single person not involved in politics who would be sad to see the walking the gauntlet component of voting day disappear?
Not one.
Because no one's saying you can't have the cards available to go grab off a. You could have them one of those things that like sort of gift card shops have.
It's the only them up. It's the only part of voting that makes voting stressful.
Yes,
I reckon.
Yep.
Because Australians are good. Australians are level-headed. Australians believe that everyone's entitled to their political views and that it's largely that it is completely a private thing. And you wouldn't dream of standing next to someone on polling day and saying, "So who do you like? Labor, Liberal, Greens?" You know, you just stand there, you wait your turn, you have a sausage, and you go home as fast as you can. The thing that makes it stressful is the zealots getting under your grill. So I reckon good on David Spears for bringing that in.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Let's take some calls. 8223 0000 is the number. Rosemary's on the line. Morning, Rosemary.
Good morning, David and Will. I'd just like to bring up something on that mongrel that they've released from jail. If it hadn't have been for him not dobbing those people in, young David, the last person that died, would still be alive. So my point is, part of his remorse, can he bring young David's life back? He died far too young and was not involved in the original plan of the other creeps process. He was just an afterthought. He might know what was going on.
No, thank you, Rosemary.
And
the whole thing's completely horrible. Yeah.
Well, May 21 will be being.
Yeah, it hasn't been released yet.
Will be being released.
Under what circumstances? Who knows?
That's very much up for discussion at the moment. Dave in Redwood Park. Good morning.
Sorry to change the subject, lads, but you know all this chasing around last week, superstars.
Yeah.
I think we forgot one.
Who's that?
Rhea bloody Ripley's coming into town. Come on, get on board.
Sorry, Dave.
Get on board.
Who's coming into town?
Rhea Ripley, the wrestler.
Oh. Yeah, I'm scared a little, man. I was going to phone him this morning because I was travelling to his golf club to do the windows there, and then at 1 o'clock I'll have my Lightning McQueen shoes on because I'm going to go and see my grandson over in Perth.
Nice.
I've got tickets to see The Undertaker on Friday night in his Dead Man show, and then Rhea bloody Ripley at the Optus Stadium.
Is Rhea Ripley only wrestling in Perth, or is there a show on the road?
No, she's only doing Perth. She's headlining it. She's 27-year-old lass from Glenelg, an absolute massive superstar, and we're all chasing bloody Swifties around country.
Good on you, Dave. Well said. A homegrown superstar.
She got a start in Right City Wrestling, didn't she?
I think she may have. Yeah. She wrestling here to go to be the biggest name in the sport right around the world. It is an amazing story. Graham in Craigmore, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Just very quickly, carrying on from where that lady left off, those guys were not going to stop where they got caught. Two friends of mine and myself were looking after some of those people and caring for some of those people for a fair while, and my two friends were more involved with the police than what I was in the whole situation. But there was another person whom they started to shift in with, and that was their go-to. They would shift in with that person or get them permission to shift in with them and gradually get their details and so on, and that's when they'd bump them off, when they got access to their money. And this particular person, I said to them, you need to get these people out of your home, because I said, and this is before everything hit the fan, I said, there's something not right about these people. You need to get them out. And she said, well, you can get further down the street. And anyway, eventually I just said, look, I'm sorry, but I'll leave it with you. And within 2 weeks, all those other guys had been arrested, including this guy. And that's when it did hit the fan. And I said to this person, I said, you got to think yourself very lucky, don't you? And she said, you can still get further down the street. And I said, well, that's fine. I said, don't worry about it. But it's a worry letting these sort of people out because, and I hate to prejudge people, but in my experienced leopards don't change their spots.
Well, you're not prejudging him, Graham. You're judging him based on what he demonstrably did do. And I think that it's really important talking about the environment that Graham was working in as a carer, in places where the families are completely dysfunctional. You've got intergenerational welfare dependency. You've got zero job opportunities. You've got bugger all education. You've got ever-present drugs, histories of abuse for almost everybody in those communities as well. And that's exactly the type of community that he's likely to re-enter.
This is the part that it always surprises me he's not a bigger talking point. Like every time the nuclear issue or waste comes up, it's always, well, in what town, what electorate, who's going to have it, who wants it anywhere near them? They're dangerous people that have done horrible things that get released, and it's, there'll be someone's neighbour.
And I just, to Sean's answer earlier about the question, how someone must, by definition, have to be completely desensitised to the moral ramifications of what they're doing. Do they get resensitised by having one meeting a week with a social worker?
Do you want to be the person next door that finds out?
Well, this is the thing. The person next door is inevitably going to have the exact same profile as the victims in their milieu back in late 1998, 99.
Yep.
They're not going to be living in Skye.
Yeah. Let's check traffic. We do say thanks to Keyser. If you're tired of back pain, try Keyser, KIESER.com.au.
Thanks, Will. At Flinders Park, residual delays from earlier crash on Holbrooks Road near Hartley Road. Busy at Henley Beach South at the moment. Seaview Road near Henley Beach Road for works. Getting busy at Glenside, Fullerton Road near Mulberry Road, and building Brighton Road, Brighton. Cameras Montague Road, Cavan, and Porter Expressway at Gilman. The Audi Summer Demonstrator Sale event is on now with exceptional opportunities on select demonstrator models at your Audi dealer until February 29. T's and C's apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Rowie and Timmy G on the 5AA Sports Show.
The Crows have named their leadership group.
Well, it's an 8-member leadership group. Wowee. 8?
Okay, it's large.
Well, say all of them are on the field, and there's only 18 on there.
Yeah.
8 of them are leaders.
Yeah.
And 10 of them aren't.
Rowie and Timmy G.
There's probably 4 names there I wouldn't have in the leadership group. But I'm in the cheap seats.
Okay.
It's a wow. I'm surprised.
4 p.m. weekdays on 5AA.
At Coles, get breakfast on the go for less. With Sanitarium Up and Go Liquid Breakfast 250ml 3-pack, half price at just $3.25. That's great value, hands down, at Coles. Offer ends Tuesday.
They're selling fast. Tickets for the Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery's $3.6 million grand prize are over 75% sold. You could win your fully furnished dream home in Henley Beach with $250,000 in the bank. But with over 75% of tickets already sold, you'd better act now. Join the fight and support life-changing medical research for all South Australians. Homelottery.com.au. Licence M14493.
If you need to fix your pipes, call Precise. Call Precise. If your toilet's blocking up, call Precise. Call Precise. If your lights aren't turning on, or your hot water is gone, or a plumber or an electrician, call Precise. Precise.
Precise Plumbing and Electrical. Call 1300 700 200. That's 1300 700 200. Precise Plumbing and Electrical. On time, on budget, on the job.
Or a plumber or an electrician, call Precise. Call Precise.
NRG Solar have moved to a new location. It's bigger and better, and their new warehouse is fully stocked with wholesale solar and battery equipment. So, if you're looking to save money on electricity and help our environment, don't wait. Visit NRG Solar at their new office on South Road, St Mary's, where every 3 customers refer someone they know, which means they must be doing something right. Call into NRG Solar at their new premises, 1275 South Road, or visit nrgsolar.com.au.
Get obsessed with the Honda SUV range at Formula Honda, Modbury and Glen Osmond. Whether it's the compact HRV, the sporty mid-sized Honda ZR-V, or the spacious CR-V. And for a limited time, new Honda SUVs come with a 7-year warranty, 7-year roadside assist, and 5 standard low-price services at $199 each. Visit Formula Honda, Modbury or Glen Osmond and test drive today. Vehicles used for a commercial purpose have a 7-year or 200,000 kilometre warranty, whichever occurs first. T's and C's at honda.com.au.
Austrac Campers' space-saving designs mean you can stretch out in a luxury king-size bed that your queen will still steal the covers off. Honey. Oh.
Austrac Campers.
Rosanna Mangiarelli here from 7 News. Join me and Will Goodings for Adelaide's leading news hour, 7 News, tonight at 6 o'clock.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
25 minutes after 8, coming up after 8:30, Police Commissioner Grant Stevens is going to join us live in the 5AA Breakfast studio. Right now, though, and there's been some big breaking news in the supermarket front, it's time to chat with David Koch. Markets, and here we are with the news in the last half an hour that Woolworths CEO Brad Banducci has set a date for his resignation. Kochie, good morning to you.
Good morning, gents. Yeah, what a reaction from Woolworths. The genie out of the bottle, thanks to Four Quarters, and they felt they had to react, and someone had to pay for it. So, big decision by the board at Woolies.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It doesn't look like he's decided to go of his own volition, does it, Kochie?
No. The timing, even though the official explanation could be a bit vanilla, so I think we can all read between the lines.
What was your read of that show the other night and the ramifications of it? Because we sort of feel a bit blessed here in SA with the Foodlands and the Chanel's, Drake's as well. Yep. Drake's is a huge player. Like, there's so much more competition here, but it's particularly in regional centres where you might only have 2 local supermarkets. This is a massive cost of living issue for people, isn't it?
A huge cost of living issue for people, and something that has been around for a number of years, and authorities have been a bit stymied for it. And I was thinking when I was watching the Four Quarters episode, there would be no shortage of organisations, smaller organisations, prepared to feed Four Quarters with lots of examples of things like predatory pricing and market dominance issues. And, it is one of the big issues that we have here in Australia, that the concentration of supermarkets is enormous. And even when big overseas chains come into Australia, their success is okay, but even they can't break the stranglehold that the 2 big supermarkets have. Like Aldi has been a reasonable success, but you wouldn't say is really challenging Coles and Woolworths at the moment. So that's how tough it is to get in. And they wrap it up by all of these unconscionable practices that Four Quarters uncovered.
Hey, Kochie, I know that as a club president, and beyond that, just obviously not wanting to prejudge people, but do you have any broad thoughts on the Melbourne revelations? We've been talking before. We had a really interesting text before from a listener talking about amateur football and the extent to which young people are using cocaine, thinking that it's some sort of better alternative to drinking beer and so on. But what do you make of the Melbourne situation?
Okay, it's really, and I'm not going to talk about Melbourne, and I shouldn't, but I think football clubs have got a responsibility with elite players and also staff to make sure cultures are really that there is a cultural understanding of illicit use of drugs and that sort of behaviour is just not on. Now, we're a reflection of all of society. We're a reflection that, what might happen at FIVEAA as well, and any organisation. So I think you've got to be really, really careful in how far you go. Football clubs have a responsibility to their staff to point them in the right direction, but it's no different to any other organisation.
Yeah, that's right. Good stuff, Kochie. David Koch, the director of Compare the Market, and obviously Port Adelaide Football Club chairman. Chat again next week.
It's 5AA News Time. Stick around. Coming up next, the Police Commissioner, Grant Stevens.
Built like a brick house. Basic Trailers build all types of trailers here in Adelaide. Locally made with Australian steel, you get 12 months warranty and factory direct pricing. Visit basictrailers.com.au. Basic Trailers. Basically, better.
Now, Samtas Seafoods offer delicious seafood meal inspirations. This week, how's this? These guys forgot inflation exists. The lowest king prawn price in more than 3 years. Medium raw prawns from the Spencer Gulf, $13.99 a kilo. Also, fresh mulloway fillets, $34.99. King George whiting, $67.99. And did you know Samtas has the largest variety of SA Ocean Corp prawns, whole or peeled every day, ready for your next tasty dish.
Plus, Samtas's famous, unbeatable quality seafood deal, the Snap Frozen Kilo Packs of your favourite seafoods, mix and match. 4 kilos still just $60.
What about the range too? Premium seafood from Samtas, fillets of dory, emperor, barra, Atlantic salmon, cooked king prawns, all to choose from in Samtas's deal. 4 kilos, just $60.
Choose salt and pepper, squid, crumb garfish, squid or prawn. They're all included in our 4 kilo $60 deal. Samtas Seafoods, our local prawn, fresh fish, seafood and freshly opened oyster specialists.
Factory direct with convenient on-site free parking. Open 7 days. Samtas Seafoods, 201 Richmond Road, Richmond.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Sunny and 35 today with the 8:30 news. I'm Graham Goodings.
Physio Extra hands-on physio at 6 locations. Even more convenient now with online bookings at physioextra.com.
The local shipbuilding industry has turned its focus to recruitment. It follows yesterday's commitment to long-term continuous naval shipbuilding in Adelaide. Defence Minister Richard Marles has told David and Will their announcement is rock solid.
So what we've made clear is what is being planned to be built at the Osborne Naval Shipyard in terms of the Hunter frigates, we will stick to, we will not change, so that there are no additional add-ons.
Australians with motor neuron disease will have access to a new trial drug next month. Patients who have been diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, the type of motor neuron disease Neil Danner has, can take part in early clinical trials. Spinogenics CEO Stella Seraf says the new therapy called SPG 302 will be taken once daily for almost a year.
It's a pill that is designed to restore a key aspect of brain function, which we believe will show benefits in motor, respiratory, and cognitive functions in patients. Our goal is the same as Neil Danaher's. We are hoping our drug will not only fight the disease, but destroy it.
More charges have been laid following last week's shooting at the Super Bowl parade in Kansas City. 2 men have been charged with a string of offences, including second-degree murder. It comes after 2 teenagers were charged last week. Police say a dispute between several people led to the shooting that killed 1 and injured 22 others. The US is reportedly preparing to dump reforms aimed at boosting the uptake of electric vehicles. The New York Times reports the Biden administration wants to give car makers longer to adjust to the changes. Australian opposition MPs are seizing on the news, urging the government to scrap similar planned rules here. Shadow Energy Minister Ted O'Brien says the overhaul will drive up vehicle prices.
This is what the industry is predicting. And unlike the United States and other places that get subsidies for consumers, no, Labor's not doing that. They're just whacking a tax. Now, it's fair enough to reduce emissions, but there has to be genuine choice, and you can't have prices skyrocket.
A man has been caught speeding and drink driving near Truro. Senior Constable Rebecca Stokes says it happened last night.
Police clocked his Toyota travelling at 133 kilometres an hour in a 110 zone. It was just before 9:30 p.m. on the Sturt Highway, Annandale.
He then recorded a blood alcohol reading of 0.165, more than 3 times the legal limit. The 27-year-old has been reported for drink driving and will be summoned to front court. Woolworths has announced Chief Executive Brad Banducci will retire after 13 years at the helm. He'll finish up in September. It follows calls for the Chief Executive to step down after he tried to cut an interview with a Four Corners reporter short during a tough line of questioning on price gouging. In a statement, Woolworths says Mr Banducci has led a remarkable turnaround and transformation of the company. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Agostino Mitsubishi's Good to Go giveaway is on now. Receive a bonus $2,000 fuel card on 2023 Build Triton.
And now here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Graham. Port Adelaide Chairman David Koch says all organisations, including football clubs, have a responsibility to outline the dangers and cultural issues surrounding illicit drugs. The Melbourne Football Club and Joel Smith have come under fresh scrutiny after allegations surfaced overnight. Koch telling David and Will it is a tough subject.
Football clubs have got a responsibility with elite players and also staff to make sure cultures are really, that there is a cultural understanding of illicit use of drugs and that sort of behaviour.
Football Australia boss James Johnson believes Matildas fans could soon be treated to one of the most memorable nights in Australian football. Next Wednesday's sold-out game against Uzbekistan in Melbourne will decide whether the Tillies qualify for the Paris Olympics. Ahead of Saturday's first leg, Johnson says there's a big week ahead.
If we win, we go to Paris. If we don't go to Paris. So they've got all the hallmarks of what we saw in 2005 with Uruguay or 2022 with Peru. It's a great time for the sport, and we've got two great fixtures in the next week.
Meantime, Manchester City has jumped up to second on the English Premier League table following a 1-0 win against Brentford. And in Champions League action, Inter Milan has beaten Atletico Madrid 1-0 in the first leg of their knockout tie. PSV Eindhoven and Borussia Dortmund drew 1-1. And women's action is underway at the Sunset Beach Surf Pro in Hawaii. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Busy in a few spots for the drive-in today. Henley Beach Road at Airport Road as you're heading into the city. Oaklands Road at South Road, super sluggish there on the way in, and also Building Diagonal Road as you're heading down to the bay. Works at Maslin Beach, slow as well. Commercial Road near Golf Parade. Busy Brighton Road, Brighton with a camera at Salisbury Highway at Parafield Gardens. Make Wednesday wow with some pork Sanchoy bao. Find the recipe and more pork wowers at pork.com.au and get some pork on your fork. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
And now the 5AA forecast.
Stay cool. Service your aircon at Automasters. And keep cool with Cool Now, Pay Later options.
Sunny and 35 today, 33 and sunny tomorrow. Friday cloudy, a lot cooler, 22. Saturday mostly sunny, 27. Right now it is 27 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Steinborner Automotive has always been well worth the trip, and now there's Barossa Mazda, Murray Street, Nuriutpa. SA's newest Mazda dealership is now open. For 40 years, Steinborner has provided South Australians with outstanding customer service, exceptional value, and a large selection of new, used, and demo vehicles. The Steinborner story continues with the opening of their new state-of-the-art Mazda dealership in Barossa Valley. Barossa Mazda. It's well worth the trip. barossamazda.com.au.
Join over 60,000 Adelaide homes and say yes to lowering your energy bills with Yes, your energy saving solutions. Do you know how much that old fridge in the shed is adding to your electricity bill? Your energy saving solutions can collect your old inefficient fridges and freezers for free, and the best part is that you can also get up to $150 per unit. For T's and C's on this unbeatable offer from Your Energy Saving Solutions, go to yes.net.au. That's yes.net.au.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head to 5AA on Facebook or YouTube.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
22 minutes to 9 if you're watching along on the Foodland Supermarkets Facebook and YouTube live stream. You'll observe we've been joined in the studio by a regular guest, the Police Commissioner, Grant Stevens. Commissioner, good morning to you. Great to have you back in the studio.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good to be here.
I was saying at the start of the show, Commissioner, I was thrilled when Lacey said you were going to be coming in today because first time I've caught up in any sort of official capacity for a while. Can I just ask, because I think a lot of South Australians have been a bit in the dark about whether you would definitely be returning as Commissioner given the terrible events of last year with the loss of Charlie, but you're back.
Yeah, I've said this to a few people. My wife Emma's made it pretty clear that she's happy to have dinner with me every night, but she doesn't want to have lunch with me every day too. So didn't leave me a lot of options. So look, I don't think I ever contemplated not returning, but I needed a bit of time, with Emma and the kids to work through what happened.
For sure.
But, it's good to be back. It's good to be able to focus on something different.
Did you ever have a moment where you thought, maybe I won't return? Particularly to a job where, even though the toll so far this year is down on last year, there's constant reminders of, and as you said so powerfully in your statement that day, these people aren't just statistics. Is that going to be a hard part of your job?
Oh no, there's there are so many reminders of Charlie. It's this is just another one. It's a daily thing where you're constantly thinking about the little fella and him not being here. So that's part of the job. I never really contemplated not coming back. I feel like there's more to be done. We are in some challenging times in policing in terms of recruiting and being able to maintain our establishment numbers and making sure that we can maintain the level of service that the community has come to expect of the South Australia Police. And I feel like I've got a role to play over the next few years to make sure that we're as good as we can be and that we live up to those expectations.
You've never been a big song and dance guy. You came back to work about 4 weeks ago, a bit under the radar.
Yeah, absolutely under the radar. Just ease back into it gently, and all credit to the team around me. They've been fantastic. Linda Williams has been doing a fantastic job. I got the sneaking suspicion she was glad to see me back. So, but
was it just because she had to come here and talk to us?
She said that was a low point in the time. But she's coped okay with that. And but yeah, we've been a great team for over 8 years now, and that's the way we've approached it, and we'll keep doing that.
It's great to have you back.
It is great to have you back. Should we get to some core business then?
Why not?
What's the latest with the Theberton Barracks?
The Theberton Barracks move is going really well. There was some tension points early in the piece in terms of being able to find locations for different business units, and I think we've spoken before about having 15 different business units that have to move out of the Theberton Police Barracks, and I think we've locked away new homes for all but one, and we're reasonably positive that we'll land that soon as well. We're making changes around when we move out so we can give access to the construction team for the new hospital so they can do some preliminary work. So things are looking pretty good. Probably taking longer than anybody would have liked, but it was a massive project to find over a dozen different new locations and start the process of moving out. But we're well and truly on track now, which is a great relief to everyone, I think.
So just because there's been so many different locations mooted, I've lost track a bit. Where are the horses going to be?
The horses are going to Jets Cross. And I think I took an opportunity to go out and have a look at the site works out there. They haven't started any actual construction, but they're doing all the layering and preparation of the site. And it is going to be quite impressive. It is a significant piece of land, and when you see the layers they've cut into the size of the block, it's going to be a huge facility with dogs and horses located there.
Where's their city base going to be, or their launch pad?
Staging area.
Staging area.
Yeah, we don't launch the horses, so we warm them up and we walk them around.
Is that still near the courts?
Yeah, that's on the corner of Wright Street and King William Street.
Oh, yeah.
Behind the courts.
Opposite Trims, the old Trims.
Yeah, opposite the old Trims, and that work is commencing now. So it looks like the schedule's working out quite well for us to be able to move out in a reasonable time frame. But there's a lot of work to be done, and there's a lot of people putting a lot of effort into making sure that we get out into appropriate facilities as quickly as possible.
How many armchair police commissioners have asked you why they're not put at the Wayville Showgrounds?
We
get that a lot.
Yeah, well, a lot of well-meaning people out there with a lot of good ideas, without a true understanding of exactly what we require for 32 horses, and they are big animals. So there's we've batted away a lot of good suggestions. We did actually have a look at the Wayville Showgrounds, and we spoke to the society there as well in terms of possible temporary locations. But that's a busy site, and they have events and activities there all the time, and we're never going to be able to accommodate our horses.
They get sick of the sound of the fireworks too, you'd think.
I think we train them up pretty well to withstand those sorts of distractions. They're I can't emphasise just what an excellent resources the horses are. They're often, during this debate, people have thrown out, why do we need horses in the modern era? But they are a fantastic operational resource. They are more than just ceremonial. They are out there patrolling, and they do a fantastic job.
Just as you were coming back to work, one of the big stories that erupted, and we couldn't believe it, we were sitting here in real time covering all of these robberies that on that one particular day a few weeks ago. People were completely appalled to see the robberies at the brickworks up in Gawler. What's the status of that? Because I know that it became part of Operation
Mandrake.
Yeah. Is there a clearer sense now as to who you're looking at in those cases?
I think we had a pretty clear sense of who we were looking for at the time of those break-ins occurring. Just to be clear, they weren't robberies; they're break-ins.
Break-ins.
Yeah. Robberies are a more serious crime. Not diminishing the impact of a break-in on a business. We know what harm that causes and how much it disrupts the business. We knew who we were looking for. We had a pretty good idea, and they've been scooped up. And it's one of those issues we have with young offenders. There's a particular cohort that tend to become frequent flyers, and we are dealing with them all the time. It is a challenge.
So they get scooped up. What happens to them next, though? Do they get spat out again?
They do, invariably, and I understand why, because we're talking about young kids, and we have the Young Offenders Act, which is sort of geared around diverting a child from criminality and not sucking them into the criminal justice system and avoiding that. So kids get more latitude than adults do in terms of how they're dealt with by the criminal justice process. But there are kids who are at that extreme end who don't seem to respond to that, and they're the ones who often end up in detention.
It started to feel like for a couple of weeks that suddenly there was a new trend developing that small businesses were seen as a soft target. And is it your observation that that's more likely, or is it just there was a small group of people that suddenly cottoned on to a pattern of behaviour and a soft target?
It's probably more likely to be it doesn't have to be a small group. They're a fairly organic group. People come and go all different times, but it's almost like a little bit mini crime wave. Until we identify the offenders, we can track them down, we can deal with them. We act as quickly as possible, but quite often you don't know that you've got this event on the horizon until it hits you, and then we respond as quickly as possible. Operation Mandrake does a fantastic job, not just in terms of looking for recidivist offenders, but dealing with families and young people, trying to divert them away from criminal activity and keeping on top of them so that we're performing a prevention role as well as just responding to crime.
When does a break-in become a robbery?
When you threaten someone. When there's a person on the premises who's threatened, there's a threat of violence or actual violence, and you take property from the person, or the person's present when you take it.
Yeah.
If there's a person inside a property like a house, if people break into your home and you're at home, that's an aggravated serious criminal trespass, and that legislation was brought in years ago to ensure that we were dealing appropriately with people who are breaking into houses. It's one thing to break into an empty house, but if you break into a house and the person's at home, even if they're asleep, the fear and intimidation that causes the individual who is the victim of that crime is much more significant than if you get home and find your front door's been kicked in.
Yep. Well, we were talking last week about a case along those very lines involving an 81-year-old woman in Ceduna who was the victim of a home invasion just before Christmas and was lying there in bed pretending to be asleep while these two youths ransacked her house. We had Peter Dutton on the show last week, Commissioner, and he was saying that he believes the federal government should immediately bring back cashless welfare cards, not just in Ceduna, but in other troubled regional communities around Australia. Do cashless welfare cards help police do their job?
We, SAPOL's position at the time of the cashless debit card being removed, we made our position clear that we supported the card, and we thought it had a positive impact on behaviours in those types of locations. And our observation was that we saw kids, being better looked after by families, less alcohol consumption, less antisocial behaviour. So we supported the retention of the card at the time it was being mooted to be removed, and we'd be happy to see it come back.
Yeah, right. That's pretty significant because the stats at the time did seem to bear that out too in Ceduna. Like January to January, year on year, it doubled. So
Ceduna is a unique place, and there are. I know it doesn't. I don't want to diminish what's happening in Ceduna by saying it is seasonal, but there are trends when we see people coming into the Ceduna township from other communities. and we see an escalation. If we see excessive alcohol purchasing and consumption, we do see an increase in antisocial behaviour.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, before we let you go, Commissioner, I won't read them all out, but there's a stack of messages here saying, great to have you back. So, it's great to have you back.
Good to be back.
Good on you, Commissioner.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Let's check traffic thanks to Keezer. If you're tired of back pain, try Keezer, KIESER.com.au.
Thanks, Will. At Mansfield Park, a crash, Harrington Road near Chapman Road. Slow for works at Henley Beach South, Seaview Road near Henley Beach Road. Busy at Glenside, Fullerton Road near Mulberry Road, with cameras Coven Road, Dry Creek and Frederick Road at Grange. Not all homes are perfect for you. That's why with Burbank Homes, you can adapt their floor plans to suit your lifestyle. You'll love building with Burbank. Search burbank.com.au. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
On 5AA mornings today, the federal government promising a continuous build of warships down at Osborne and AUKUS to come. But who's going to staff the ships we build? A state MP calling on the federal government to consider national conscription. And Jeffrey Robertson, the lawyer with the amazing brain. You've seen him on Hypotheticals. He'll be joining me this morning. Your calls and we'll look at other issues as well. I'm Matthew Pantelis. Look forward to your company from 9.
Remember when milk came in bottles? I mean real glass bottles. It somehow tasted better and it was better for the planet. That's why the Flurio Milk Company have partnered with the Udder Way to bring you milk in a glass bottle. The reduction in single-use plastic bottles will be phenomenal. In the millions. Join the fight to reduce plastic and look for milk refill stations in your supermarket. Thanks to Flurio Milk Company and the Udder Way. Visit fluriomilkco.com.au for more.
What's on your bucket list? Skydiving? Swimming with dolphins? Hot air ballooning? Before you plan a bucket list, plan your will with Donlan Lawyers. A will, power of attorney and advanced care directive speak for you when you can't. It means you and your loved ones will be taken care of. Visit donlanlawyers.com. Put it on your bucket list. Hindmarsh Square, Adelaide, and Ocean Street, Victor Harbour.
Recording receipts? But in a snap. Stashing them in your glove box? But storing them online instead. With Xero, it's business but better. Start your free 30-day trial at xero.com.
Now, the Adelaide Hills are most certainly alive. I was up there the other day, I can tell you that. Geez, that road between Wistow and Mount Barker, there's so many new families that are now making the tree change. These people need room to breathe and space to dream, and they've chosen to discover what is on the road less travelled.
And if you're heading to the hills up the freeway, take the Mount Barker exit, turn left, and you'll soon be discovering the home of Mazda in the hills.
And not only that, you'll discover the Mazda BT50 Unmissable Sales event is on now, with free registration and free stamp duty on selected Mazda BT50s. Stock is ready to go, so don't miss out. The sale must end February 29. You'll find all the T's and C's at mountbarkermazda.com.au.
For unmissable prices on BT50s, take the road less travelled to Mount Barker Mazda. Great service since 1954. Mount Barker Road, Totnes.
You've decided to build? It's exciting stuff. When you've found land, it's a good idea to get advice on what you can build on your new parcel of paradise. Get Steve from Beechwood Homes to take a look. There's no obligation, and you'll get a great understanding of what's possible. Sloping block, flat block, weird shaped block, or block on a cliff. Speak with Steve from Beechwood Homes for all the possibilities. Life's good. It's even better in a Beechwood home. Google Beechwood Adelaide.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
7 to 9, let's catch up with Jade Robber, who's at the Brickworks this morning. Jade, good morning again to you.
Good morning, guys. I thought we'd come down and check in on the business owners down here. You'd remember 2 weeks ago to the day that 4 shops here at the Brickworks were broken into. They had their windows smashed and items, including their tills, stolen. Well, police arrested 3 youths aged 14 and 15. They've been linked to that crime spree that you were talking about with the Commissioner there here at the Brickworks, also Highland Valley Shopping Centre in Greenwith and at the Para Hills Shopping Centre. Now, The Commissioner, as he said just then to you blokes a moment ago, he said that they get scooped up and spat out. Well, one of the youths appeared via video link in court yesterday and has been released on bail. The 14-year-old from Devon Park pleaded with the court, quote, "Can I have one last opportunity to behave?" And his lawyer said he is now the second generation of disadvantage that comes from this family. His mum has her own difficulties. He's clearly having his own difficulties, and it's proposed that he resides with his grandma. Now, I caught up with a business owner, Villy, down here at the Brickworks to get his reaction on this one. Villy, who owns Eurocentral here at the Brickworks, joins me. Villy, how's it all gone? Last time we caught up, there'd been 4 stores broken into. Has there been any trouble since?
Well, as far as I heard, nothing happened since then. But there are still people talking about what has happened, how it happened, why it happened, what happened to the criminals did that, robberies or whatever. So we're still talking about it, and everyone's sort of in a mood. They keep looking out for it. They keep looking around. They making their own judgments, saying that it shouldn't happen all the time. It's not. It's not first time that was happened. That was possible a 5th time in the centre happened. But yeah, people are just blaming the system.
Do you know much about the culprits that broke into the stores?
I have no knowledge of it.
So what I'm going to tell you is that yesterday a 14-year-old was bailed. He pleaded with the judge to say, please give me one more chance, and he was let out on bail.
Well, I suppose that's the reason this keep happening. Unfortunately, our system in place lets these little offenders don't let them out. They say don't do it again. But unfortunately, at that age, I don't know many child actually would keep their promises. So being a teenager and obviously irresponsible, and then also the pressure from society, I believe, or surrounding of those people, they just want to be somebody, and who can they never be. But yeah.
Do they deserve one more chance?
Look, everybody deserves a chance. But then again, depends what chance you actually offering them.
Yeah.
What have they done to deserve the second chance? How did they actually sort of show they deserve a chance? What have they done to deserve the second chance? This might be the question.
I think society's patience is running out with those first, second, third chances. I know I'm not the only one this has happened to, but we were broken into last year. It fell under the Operation Mandrake. They broke in. We were asleep. It was about 4:30 a.m. in the morning. They took our car. They were only, metres away from my children, and it fell under the serious aggravated break-in. And guess what? Went to court, let off on bail. System's broken.
Completely. I can remember when that happened to you last year, Jade, and, thinking about all of these incidents the other day, knowing that you were out there covering, it must have jogged some pretty unpleasant memories for you and your family.
Yeah, it does. And I had to. We moved from that house because it was a brand new house. We'd only lived there for a year and a half, but I felt really exposed, and I felt like it could happen time and time again. And the detectives were unbelievable. And I heard the commissioner talk about it, and you can almost hear he's at his wit's end with it as well. But we got a phone call after the court hearing from the detective that was working with us, and he just said, "I am so sorry, Jade and Ben. I'm so sorry. It's the courts that let us down time and time again." And I don't think it's something that you ever get over. I mean, I have sympathy, empathy for, these groups. I don't like that they come from a disadvantaged background, but that doesn't give you a right to break into my family's home and take what I've built up and threaten my family. That doesn't give you the right to do that.
Yeah, and then in so many cases, then do it to another family. Jade, thank you.
Because that
was great insight, both from Jade and indeed the owner of the cafe there at the Brickworks. Let's take one smeg rumour before we go. Submarine, good morning. Good morning.
Given how all the butchers have now ceased to exist in all the big supermarkets, it's all pre-packed smelly stuff.
Yep.
Well, it looks like they're going the same way with the deli section, because the deli section now has got less and less platters of fresh meats cut up. And go to the dairy section, there's more and more pre-packed stuff. So it looks like they're doing the same in the deli.
So the deli section will go the way of the butcher at the big supermarkets. Yeah, that's interesting. It was a short-lived foray into those areas, if that is correct, Submarine. Let's give you the Smeg toaster for calling in with that late rumour.
If you haven't got a Smeg toaster, unlike Submarine, get yourself one. They're terrific.
Building or renovating, your first choice should be visiting the Smeg showroom at Deputy Distributors. Takes the difference with Smeg. Big thanks to Duttons too for driving Jade around this morning. Big 10 Ford, GM Haval, Hyundai, Isuzu, Ute, Mazda, Mitsubishi, Nissan, Ram, Subaru and Volkswagen. Duttons, easy to do business with. Matt Pantelis is coming up.
Heidi Girolamo tells me she wasn't crying. She just could see no point staying in the chamber while Connie Benares was carrying on like a pork chop. A lot of reaction on North Terrace to breaking at 8. Getting a million texts about it.
We'll see you tomorrow.